President Bush prepares to tell a skeptical nation he's sending more troops into battle. This hour, new details of his war plan and the growing opposition to it. The president's speech tonight could sway the race to replace him. Will a new influx of troops keep Iraq on voters' radar screens well into 2008? Plus, the tick-tock in the White House, in the House of Representatives, that is. Democrats make low-wage workers their number 2 priority. We're tracking their progress in the first 100 hours. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. Just hours from now, President Bush formally unveils his plan to beef up a war most Americans want him to end sooner rather than later. Over at the White House today, a senior administration official briefed me and several other news anchors about Mr. Bush's Iraq battle plan. The president wants to deploy at least 21,000 additional troops to Baghdad and the Anbar province over the next few months, maybe as many as 24,000. The first of 5 U.S. Army brigades could be in position in Iraq by the end of this month. On Capitol Hill, top Democrats are lashing out at plans for a troop buildup, but they're still struggling with how far they should go to try to prevent it. Our congressional correspondent Dana Bash is standing by, but let's go to the White House, to our correspondent there, Suzanne Malveaux, with a look ahead to what the president plans to tell the nation tonight. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, of course, President Bush has been preparing for this speech, going over reading the teleprompter. This morning, he reached out to Iraqi officials, Sunni, Kurd, as well as Shiite, and also hosted the Democratic and Republican members of Congress here at the White House. Democrats quite displeased with all this. They said they felt that they were a prop for a dress rehearsal. Essentially, we have heard and we've seen this situation before, public relations campaign, and the big question, whether or not this is going to be another pep rally or really a successful policy. Here's what we're expecting from the president, that first and foremost, he will acknowledge failure. He will talk about how the current strategy is not working, that mistakes were made, not enough U.S. or Iraqi forces. He'll lay out the plan, therefore talking about this increase in troops, more than 21,000 U.S. troops. That is 5 Army brigades, the first one leaving from Kuwait, perhaps as recent as within a week or so, the others to follow in February and the following months, as well as 4,000 Marines to the Anbar province. That is an al-Qaeda stronghold. Now, the cost of all of this, you're not going to hear numbers from the president today, but we were told from a senior administration official, $5.6 billion for the military operation. That, of course, being requested through the budget supplemental, and then a $1 billion jobs program to try to put the Iraqis back to work. Both.
Suzanne, the Iraqi government of Nouri al-Maliki, they really have to come through now in order to make this new Bush strategy work. What are they saying? What are you hearing that the Iraqis have agreed to?
Well, what the Iraqis have agreed to is an increase in troops, 3 brigades. So you're talking about 1 going in the beginning of February, 2 other brigades February 15th to join with U.S. forces, that they are now going to take the lead in Baghdad to, of course, try to secure the capital city. We've also been told that the Iraqi Prime Minister, Nouri Maliki himself, has given reassurances to President Bush that the rules of engagement here with troops are going to change, that they're going to be open to travel any part of Iraq, including Sadr City, to go after those dangerous militia. Wolf?
All right, Suzanne, stand by. We're going to be getting back to you, Suzanne Malveaux, over at the White House. Let's go to Capitol Hill right now. The growing opposition to a new deployment of additional U.S. forces to Iraq. But Democratic Majority leaders still haven't come up with clear marching orders for their troops. Let's bring in our congressional correspondent, Dana Bash. Dana?
Well, Wolf, the White House, they've been hosting lawmakers, Republicans and Democrats all week, but just this afternoon was the first time the bipartisan leadership went to the White House to speak with the president about his plan. Democrats, for their part, came out and wasted no time criticizing him, first on the process, saying that they did not get the consultation that they said that they were promised. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid even mentioned the fact that the president was practicing the speech right before they got there. But they also made clear on the substance, as they have been saying all week long, that they believe that the president's plan to send more troops is the wrong one.
The members of Congress, Democrats for certain, questioned in some detail what the additional troops would do. And again, speaking for me, I am at a loss as to what's going to happen with these additional troops.
Now, Republicans, for their part, they came out and said, in the words of the House Minority Leader, that what they heard from the president was the best shot at victory in Iraq. But Democrats, as you mentioned, are, of course, running Congress now, and they have been struggling with just how to not just criticize the president, but actually turn their words into actions now that they have the power here. And today, it appears, Wolf, that Democrats are coalescing around the idea, both in the Senate and the House, of having a test vote. Put the president's plan on the floor of the House, on the floor of the Senate, and have a vote on it. That would be the initial plan, but that might not happen until even after the State of the Union. That, of course, is January 23rd. So what they're talking about is essentially a symbolic vote to get a sense, a marker of where the support for the president is on Capitol Hill. After that, at least in the Senate, they may go to a vote on Senator Ted Kennedy's plan to have some kind of authorization of more troops and more money. But even Democrats who are really struggling with what to do here admit that might be too late, because at that point, the president will probably have already sent many of the troops into the field, and they're going to be in the position of having to say, we're not going to support you in terms of money, and they have been unwilling to do that in the past, Wolf.
Two more senators coming out making their views abundantly clear. They don't support what the president has in mind. Tell our viewers what we learned today.
You know, if you want to have any sense of just how much the political climate for the president has changed on Capitol Hill, you just had to look at the Senate floor today. You had a Republican Senator, Norm Coleman from Minnesota, and in addition, Democratic Senator Max Baucus from a red state of Montana, where the president still is quite popular. They both came out in a formal way on the Senate floor and said that they do not support the president's plan.
If Iraq is to fulfill its role as a sovereign and democratic state, it must start acting like one. It is for this reason that I oppose the proposal for a troop surge. I oppose the proposal for a troop surge in Baghdad, where violence can only be defined as sectarian.
Mr. President, I believe it is time for our combat troops to come home from Iraq. America entered into this war with motivations that were clearly honorable, but they were mistaken.
Now, other Democrats, of course, have said that they regret their vote for the war in the past. That was the first time we heard today Senator Max Baucus say that he thinks the war is a mistake. For him, it's personal. He lost a nephew in Iraq in July, but, Wolf, it is also political. What you just saw there is an early statement from both of those senators, even before the president gives his speech, both of those senators up for re-election in the next cycle in 2008.
The political fireworks, the fallout only just beginning. And the president hasn't even delivered his speech yet.
Exactly.
Thanks very much, Dana, for that. And remember to stay right here for complete coverage of the president's address to the nation. Our coverage will begin at 7 p.m. Eastern. Paul Azan will be joining me for a special edition of the Situation Room. That's coming up later tonight. In Iraq today, an influential group of Sunni Muslim scholars is blasting President Bush's expected increase of troop levels in Iraq. The group warns that many of those troops will die, and even more innocent Iraqis will die as well. In Iraq, another day of car bombings, ambushes, and bloodshed. 10 Iraqi Shiites returning from the Hajj in Saudi Arabia, the pilgrimage there. They were shot and killed near the Iraqi-Saudi border. 60 bodies were found dumped around Baghdad. And the U.S. military death toll since the start of the war has now climbed to 3,018. Let's return to Capitol Hill now, where Democrats are trying not to let all the emphasis on Iraq derail their first 100 hours of legislative business. On tap today, a bill to increase the federal minimum wage for the first time in a decade. We'll turn to our congressional correspondent, Andrea Koppel. Andrea?
Wolf, and Democrats say that is the longest this country has gone without a raise since the minimum wage was first established almost 70 years ago.
It is the ultimate bread and butter issue affecting millions of America's lowest paid workers. California Congresswoman Lynn Woolsey used to be one of them.
40 years ago, I was a single mother with 3 small children, and although I was employed, I was forced to go on welfare.
But when, as expected, the House signs off on boosting the minimum wage for the first time in almost 10 years, Democrats say that'll be a big step towards changing that, raising the minimum wage from $5.15 an hour, where it is now, to $5.85 an hour 60 days after it's signed into law. Then, a year later, it'll go up to $6.55, and finally, it'll jump to $7.25 a year after that. For the average worker currently earning $10,712 a year, that'll mean in 2 years they could take home over $15,000. That's still below the poverty level for a family of 3.
Does it solve the economic stress? No, it doesn't, but it changes their lives. For a family of 3, increasing the minimum wage will mean an additional $4,400 a year, equaling 15 months of groceries or 2 years' worth of health care.
But Republicans complain to do so could hurt small businesses who'll be stuck footing the bill for those higher wages.
Independent studies confirm that the proposal by the House Democrats to raise the minimum wage without including considerations for those who pay the minimum wage and their workers would halt the momentum of recent economic growth dead in its tracks.
Democrats disagreed and suggested Republicans had a double standard.
The salaries of members of Congress have increased by $31,600 since 1997, while the minimum wage continues to earn just $10,700 a year.
Now from here, the bill will move over to the Senate, where Democrats are negotiating behind the scenes with Republicans who want to include tax breaks for those small businesses, something that a Democratic leadership aide tells CNN is likely to be included. And Wolf, it is something that President Bush himself has said must be included if he's to sign off on it. Wolf.
All right, Andrea, thanks very much. We'll watch that vote unfold in the House of Representatives, bring the results to our viewers as we get it. Thanks very much. Andrea Koppel, Dana Bash, Suzanne Malveaux, they are all part of the best political team on television. And remember, for the latest political news at any time, check out our political ticker. Go to cnn.com/ticker. Let's check in with Jack Cafferty. He's got the Cafferty file. Hi, Jack.
Wolf, across the pond, Brits can now register with their equivalent of the FBI and receive email terror alerts. They can sign up with the MI5's website to get these alerts from the government when there are changes in the nation's terror threat level. The British instituted a warning system this past summer that's similar to the one we use here in the U.S., the color-coded system. It's all part of an effort by the British government to make information on possible threats more available to the public and to get the public's help in combating terror. The Director General of the MI5 says that since the attacks on the London transit system in July of 2005, they have foiled 5 major terror plots. So here's our question. Would you want to receive email alerts with terror updates from the federal government? Email us at CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf.
Jack, thank you for that. Jack Cafferty in New York. If you want a sneak preview, by the way, of Jack's questions, plus an early read on the day's political news and what's ahead in the Situation Room, sign up for our daily email alert. Simply go to CNN.com/Situation Room. That's where you can do it. Coming up, it's the key issue in the 2004 and 2006 elections, and it looks like the war in Iraq will dominate the 2008 campaign as well, at least right now. But which party benefits? Plus, does President Bush have a credibility problem with the American public? I'll ask Republican strategist and former White House advisor Mary Madeline. She's standing by live to join us here. And what about the Democrats? Are they divided over how to respond to the president's call for more troops? I'll ask Senator Jack Reed. That's coming up in the next hour. All right here in the Situation Room.
It's time to play Take on Orbits. This week's winner is you. That's right, you.
Save $300 on select 7-night vacations to Mexico, the Caribbean, and Hawaii during the winter getaway sale. Just Orbits and go.
Always use protection.
Documents start with people who have ideas to share. To bring your ideas to life, choose Sir Speedy. We have the expertise and technology to create, print, manage, and distribute them wherever they need to go. Sir Speedy. We are documents.
All right, international shipping. Well, your products are on a plane, ready to go to your customers in Europe to arrive on Friday. But Italy wants it there by noon, Paris early morning, and London late afternoon. Well, if you had a UPS logo, now when your customers ask, you can say, si, oui, and yes. It's not international shipping. It's international shipping with UPS. And you even got a little tail window.
What does it mean when we say no one can do what Countrywide can? It means if other lenders can't get it done, we can. It means we can offer home loans to get cash fast, to pay off credit cards or remodel a kitchen. It means as your life changes, our loans can change with you, to lower your payments or to help pay for college. It means with more good loans for more good reasons. No bank, no lender, no one can do what Countrywide can. Call us 1-800-CAN-DO-88.
Exclusive primetime jailhouse interview. A romantic walk on a beach ends in murder. Nancy Grace, Headline Prime, Friday, 8 Eastern.
The 47th Annual Portland Boat Show is proud to partner with Keep Hope Afloat, a PFD charitable foundation. The foundation is asking you to donate your old substandard life jackets. If the jacket can be recertified, it goes to the statewide loaner program, and 5,000 children 12 and under will be fitted with a free new Mustang survival jacket as part of the Life Jacket for Junior program provided by the Oregon State Marine Board, only at the Portland Boat Show.
Comcast high-speed internet has power boost?
Yep, makes their already fast downloads even faster. I'd prefer a power nap, to be honest.
Or power that abruptly slows down so you can rest.
Mm-hmm.
And do Sudoku.
She's a Sudoku maniac.
I am.
Comcast high-speed internet now with Power Boost makes fast faster. It's Comcasting.
The King Papers, all this week. American Morning, 6 Eastern.
When President Bush unveils his new Iraq strategy at the White House later tonight, he'll be writing another chapter of his legacy. He may also be defining the fight to take over his job. Let's turn to our senior political analyst, Bill Schneider. Bill?
Wolf, President Bush's troop buildup means a substantial number of American forces will still be in Iraq next year. Result? Iraq will very likely dominate the 2008 agenda. Iraq is becoming a defining issue for both parties. Democrats overwhelmingly oppose a troop buildup. Candidates have gotten the message.
I met with the president last week and expressed my clear and unequivocal opposition to an escalation of troop levels in Iraq.
Frontrunner Hillary Clinton's office tells CNN she does not support any escalation of the war in Iraq absent a broader and more comprehensive political solution that will start the overdue process of bringing our troops home. Republicans support a troop buildup, though there are some signs of erosion. 30% oppose more troops. Potential Republican candidates are lining up with the president. On Wednesday, Mitt Romney released a statement saying, "I believe securing Iraqi civilians requires additional troops." John McCain is leading the campaign for a troop buildup.
We will need a large number of troops.
That will likely damage McCain's aura of bipartisanship. One Democratic contender is already taking him on.
I reject categorically what I call the McCain doctrine, which is an escalation of this war and a surge of troops.
At the moment, the Iraq issue puts Republicans on the defensive. The war is deeply unpopular. Independents, that is, swing voters, side with Democrats on Iraq. Democrats are trying to be anti-Iraq without being anti-military.
I'm not willing to create a situation in which troops who are already in Iraq might be shortchanged in some way because of restrictions on appropriations. So it creates a difficult situation for Democrats.
Americans are still worried about a terrorist threat. They want a president who will end the war in Iraq, but still protect the country. In 1972, Americans strongly opposed the Vietnam War, but the Democrats got soundly defeated when they nominated an anti-war candidate who the voters thought was too weak. Wolf?
Thanks for that, Bill Schneider. Good reports. Still ahead. Some Republicans break ranks with the president on his plan to beef up U.S. forces in Iraq. Are they giving aid and comfort to the Democrats? James Carville and Babe Buchanan will square off. That's coming up in our strategy session. And what would it take to convince Delta Airlines to go along with a buyout? We'll get an update on a new offer that could affect your future flight plans. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
You okay?
My parents never owned their own home. They'd be proud.
I think you're gonna need these. Welcome home.
Thank you so much. We could have done it without you.
You got a home-cooked meal coming. All right, maybe two.
Century 21.
I think that today has been the toughest day so far. I just feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster. I've had very many instances where I think that I could have gone over the deep end and had a cigarette. No matter what, I will not smoke a cigarette, no matter how stressed out I get. I still have a long road ahead, but I'm getting there, slowly but surely.
Congratulations. Of course it is. It's awesome.
Did you think I was going to make it through last night?
Worried about rising monthly payments in your adjustable mortgage? What if you had a mortgage with the option of a low monthly payment and a fixed rate for the life of your loan? Call 1-800-71-FIXED or log on to ditech.com, a GMAC company.
I was turning 50, and so were my eyes.
Nancy came into Pearl Vision for her annual checkup.
Now my eyes see perfectly.
They're Nancy's eyes, but they're my responsibility.
Right now at Pearl Vision, buy one pair of eyeglasses and get a free pair valued up to $200.
Travelocity presents The Roaming Gnome, denouncer of travel myths. Our first myth, you never know how long a great deal will last.
Rubbish. Travelocity shows you how many seats are left, so you know when to pounce.
Myth 2, American appliances don't work in Europe.
Oh, grow up. Ah! Am I going to die?
Travelocity shows you when there's only a few seats left, so you don't miss out on a great deal. Travelocity, you'll never roam alone.
Tonight, CNN brings you President Bush's address on Iran. With reporters live from the heart of the story in Baghdad and Washington. Find out what the plan really means for U.S. troops. Special coverage starts in the Situation Room. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
Tonight on 360, is the last best chance for victory in Iraq or a waste of American dollars and lives? All the angles on President Bush's new war plan. Iraq, exit strategy, or no way out? A 360 special from Washington tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Closed captioning provided by Activon. Apply directly where it hurts.
New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle, in stores now.
There she is, Carol Costello. She's in New York. She's got a closer look at some other important stories making news. Carol?
I do. Hello, Wolf. Hello to all of you. The U.S. continues its hunt for al-Qaeda in Somalia. Today, a Pentagon official tells CNN that a second U.S. airstrike aimed at al-Qaeda suspects was called off when the gunship lost track of its targets. That source also says that 8 suspected terrorists were killed in Sunday's U.S. airstrike in southern Somalia, but their identities have not been confirmed. Somali officials say one suspect, Fazul Abdullah Muhammad, is among the dead, but U.S. officials are not confirming his death. Also, he often insults and antagonizes the U.S. government, but the U.S. will just have to deal with him for 6 more years. Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez was sworn into a new 6-year term after his landslide re-election. Chavez vows to press a radical socialist agenda today, saying, quote, socialism or death. In the meantime, U.S. Air seriously wants to merge with Delta, so U.S. Air is upping the ante. Delta rejected U.S. Air's $8 billion offer back in November, so today U.S. Air threw in another $2 billion. Delta is trying to emerge from bankruptcy protection, so the new $10 billion offer still has to be approved by Delta's creditors. The deadline for that is February 1st. And after many steps forward, one painful step back. You remember Barbaro, the horse who shattered his right leg in last year's Preakness? Well, after months of medical progress, doctors today say Barbaro is suffering a major setback. He's recovering from a condition called laminitis, and he's being aggressively treated for pain. But doctors say Barbaro has beaten the odds against ordinary horses, proving he's a horse that, quote, wants to live. Wolf?
Yeah, let's hope he does. Good luck to Barbara. Thanks very much for that, Carol. Up ahead, selling the plan. Does the president have a credibility problem? If so, how can he convince the American public and the U.S. Congress that more troops are the answer to stabilizing Iraq? We'll ask Republican strategist and former West Wing insider. She's still an insider. Mary Madeline. Also, a father laments the loss of his fallen son. Will his family's sacrifice in Iraq be in vain if the U.S. doesn't finish the job there? Our John King standing by to bring us a touching story of a family's loss. We'll be right back.
I think that today has been the toughest day so far. I just feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster. I've had very many instances where I think that I could have gone over the deep end and had a cigarette. No matter what, I will not smoke a cigarette, no matter how stressed out I get. I still have a long road ahead, but I'm getting there, slowly but surely.
Congratulations. Of course it is. It's awesome.
Did you think I was going to make it through last night?
There's the week, there's the weekend, and then there's the weekender.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the subscription from the New York Times, I love it.
Like your whole weekend's just started. It's come a little early.
So the deal is you call the 1-800 number, and then you get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for $3.25, which is half off, which is pretty crazy.
So you get the Friday paper, and boom, you're right into the weekend.
Saturday. The word alone makes me happy. I love to sort of pull everything out of the Sunday paper.
Travel section.
Magazine.
Weekend review.
The international news.
The book review. I got these really great boots after reading the Sunday style section.
All I did was call the 1-800 number.
I'm not one of those call now people.
Call!
You should call now.
I love to have the New York Times delivered.
Who doesn't like to save money?
Call now because it's a great deal.
That's like having a table of contents for everything in the world.
I mean, how much would you give for that?
The Weekender subscription from the New York Times. Get it now for as low as $3.25 a week. Call 1-800-727-7464.
Who doesn't like to start the weekend a day early?
This is the AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan card. You know what's great about this card? Wherever you go, nationwide, your coverage travels with you. And that's just one of the many reasons you need the card you can trust. Because with AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plans, you can apply year-round, talk with personal health insurance advisors, and so much more. If you're turning 65 or older, or you've already enrolled in a Medicare supplement plan, call for this free information kit and Medicare guide. These are the only Medicare supplement insurance plans exclusively endorsed by AARP. These plans, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company, help cover some of your medical expenses not covered by Medicare alone. This could save you thousands of dollars. Want your choice of doctors or hospitals, virtually no claim forms, and no referrals needed to see a specialist? Call for your free kit. Yep, this is one great card.
Larry King tomorrow, an emotional primetime exclusive. Crocodile hunter Steve Irwin's widow Terry and 8-year-old daughter Bindi on coping with the shocking death of the husband and father they loved. Larry King Live, tomorrow 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
To our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Happening now. The president prepares to say what many Americans do not want to hear. That he'll send as many as perhaps 24,000 more U.S. troops to Iraq over the next few months. That according to a senior administration official who briefed me and some other news anchors earlier in the day on several critical details over at the White House earlier today. Will the commander-in-chief be able to sway Congress, specifically members of his own party? Today, at least one more Republican senator suggested he's growing restless. Norm Coleman of Minnesota says he does not support sending more troops to Iraq. And what about public support? The families of many American troops have some strong opinions on sending more American troops into harm's way. Our John King standing by, he's gauging public support and that of one family whose son died in Iraq. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. President Bush will certainly have his work cut out for him tonight. He must sell his new Iraq war plan to a war-weary public, even to some members of his own party who are not yet on board with it. But are past failures in Iraq giving the president a credibility problem? Here to talk about that and more is Mary Madeline, former counselor to the Vice President Dick Cheney, good friend of CNN, former co-host of Crossfire. Mary, thanks very much.
Thanks for having me, Wolf. Happy New Year.
He's got a real Happy New Year to you, too. He's got a serious credibility problem because of many of the failures. What does he have to do tonight to convince the American public and a skeptical Congress that this time he's right?
Well, there's not a this time, like it's just an add-on. It's just additional troops. As you said into your lead-in, the president wouldn't just call and hasn't just called, as you know, talking to a high-ranking senior administration official today. This is just not adding troops. It's a fundamental change of mission. This is a different military mission where as we clear and we hold and we build, so the Iraqis are buying in and changing their attitude about the political system.
Different? They've tried that at least once or twice before.
No, they have not. It's been done in Talafar. General McMaster did it up there. But what was the critical element was the Iraqis have to hold and help build. And Maliki has had a seat change. It wasn't only we who observed our election returns here. He's seen that too, and Democrats and Republicans have delivered that message to him.
Do you think he's going to deliver Nouri al-Maliki, the Prime Minister of Iraq? Because if this plan works, he's got to send Iraqi forces and U.S. forces, for example, into Sadr City, which is this Shiite stronghold. Muqtada al-Sadr, this 29-year-old radical Shiite cleric who hates the United States, he's going to have to crack down on him.
Well, as Maliki has said, Sadr's not going to run this country. As Maliki is committed to the president and to others that the rules of engagement which were impeding our progress there will be changed.
So what you're saying, so much hinges on Nouri al-Maliki, the Prime Minister of Iraq.
Being able to deliver, and here's what's different here. There are, call them timetables, call them benchmarks, call them whatever. We'll be able to know sooner rather than later if Maliki can indeed deliver on the commitments he's made to the president.
I was told today the president's patience is not unlimited when it comes to this guy.
Well, they can't do it without us, but we can't do it without them. It has to be theirs to do, but we can't put them in a position where they can't succeed. And we have been doing that. But this new mission, people keep talking about the surge as if it's just a matter of numbers. The surge is merely a tactic to support a strategy that expands supporting the population, protecting the population so the population can in turn isolate the insurgents. The enemy continues to be the Sunni insurgents who want to tear down this democratically elected government.
But there's also Shiite death squads that are clearly an enemy of the United States as well.
Who have risen up starting about a year ago after the mosque bombing in summer because they've turned it into, responded as the Sunni insurgents wanted them to, enabled by al-Qaeda, to protect Shias. When Maliki shows that we are able to protect the Shia when these joint operations, we're staying, we're holding, we're building, then he'll have a tool, a political tool to go back to the Sadrs and the Shia militants and say, we can do this.
As you know, a lot of Democrats are opposed to this increase in U.S. troops, but increasingly Republicans speaking out as well. Gordon Smith, Republican of Oregon, listen to what he said today.
We've done 20,000 before. It has made no difference because the Iraqis, whom we have trained, have simply not shown up for the fight.
You agree with him on that? They haven't shown up for the fight in the past.
Well, it's a fundamentally different mission. It's a departure from the current Lightfoot, where we were putting them in positions unable to be able to succeed. The way Senator Smith and others are describing the surge or the additional troops is different from what the president's going to say tonight. This is not just additional troops. It's how they're deployed. It's how they're positioned. It's how they're working. It's that they're staying. This is a completely different mission when you go in and you stay and you set up 24/7 in the places that you're protecting, not scoot back to the green zone.
You know you have a serious problem, you meaning the Bush administration, when one of the Republicans, one of the president's best foot soldiers in the U.S. Senate, most loyal and supportive senators, Norm Coleman, Republican of Minnesota, is now saying this is not a good idea. Listen to Norm Coleman earlier today.
A troop surge in Baghdad would put more American troops at risk to address a problem that is not a military problem. It will put more American soldiers in the crosshairs of sectarian violence, create more targets. I just don't believe this makes sense.
Now that's coming from Norm Coleman, who's not known as someone who distances himself often from this administration.
Right, that's right. You know what? It's not an illegitimate view. There's some who believe, and there are more Democrats and Republicans who believe that security or that political solution has to precede a security solution. The president believes, Maliki believes, the troops on the ground believe, and most Republicans believe that security is an essential precondition for a political solution. It's just a disagreement, but we'll be able to know in the next 6 months, although the sustained effort has to take longer than 6 months. The president will be clear about that, and he'll speak of the consequences, which everyone, Republican, Democrat, anybody who takes issue with the president's policy here has to discuss honestly with the American public the consequences.
It's really an uphill struggle for the president. You saw that USA Today Gallup poll. Do you favor or oppose the president's plan to temporarily increase troops to stabilize Iraq? 36% favor, 61% oppose. I've seen other polls where the numbers are even
Those are
more
actually
lost.
fat. 40% of the people approve of it.
36%.
Sorry, let's round up,
Yeah.
Wolf, but okay, 36% approve before hearing what it is. It's not just adding additional troops. It's fundamentally changing the mission from one of standing up an Iraqi government to one of protecting the population to isolate the insurgents. Very different military mission, very different political mission, and very different economic mission. You'll recall the original economic mission was infrastructure, big projects. Now this will be jobs for people in these locations. It'll be basic services. It'll be incentivizing the population to get a better economic package if they continue to help us isolate the insurgents.
Mary Madeline, former counselor to the vice president, thanks very much for coming in.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And stay right here for complete coverage of the president's address to the nation. Remember, our coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern. Paul Azan will be joining me and the best political team on television for a special edition of The Situation Room, 7 p.m. Eastern. Coming up, a father struggles with the death of his son in Iraq. Do we owe it to the fallen to keep fighting? John King has a special report. And keeping track of the Democrats' 100-hour pledge. The clock is ticking right now. We're going to bring you the story behind the rules of the timekeeper. Stay with us. You're in The Situation.
The Situation Room is brought to you by Head On. Head On, applied directly to the forehead. Head On is available without prescription at your nearest pharmacy.
Head On, apply direct.
Head On, apply directly to your forehead. Head On, apply. Head On, I can't stand your commercial, but your product is amazing.
Head On is available without a prescription. New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain, Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle, in stores now. New from the makers of Head On, introducing Activon. Arthritis pain, Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis, in stores now.
Miracle Ear has been helping millions of Americans hear better for almost 60 years. With more than 1,000 locations all across the country, including many in Sears, we're always there when you need us with personalized service. And now, during our digital sales event, get a personalized hearing aid for only $995. That's right, Miracle Ear quality for only $995. Call 1-877-908-HERE for the location nearest you. Don't delay, this $995 sales event ends January 24th.
What I love about her?
What I love about him.
How much time do we have?
I love Thomas because he's just...
I love everything about Sharon. Everything.
Everything. I love him as he is.
Find everything you're looking for on eHarmony.com. Log on today.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. If your adjustable mortgage rate keeps rising, maybe it's time to call eLoan at 1-800-TRY-ELOAN or go to eLoan.com for a fixed rate mortgage with one low monthly payment. eLoan. Radically simple.
All right, you're a small business. Well, this is you, and these are all the things you have to do today. You're growing your business, you're designing stuff. Now you're shipping stuff, getting phone calls, tracking stuff, more phone calls, more tracking. Now, wouldn't it be great if someone could help you with all this? Like UPS. There. Now you're doing what you love. It's not your small business. It's your small business with UPS. Let's give you a tie. Big meeting today.
I hate political correctness. I love the truth. Too often, political correctness is all about controlling language and hiding the truth. We have to tell it like it is. It's what we all deserve.
Lou Dobbs tonight, CNN 6 Eastern.
It's time for answers.
Tonight, CNN brings you President Bush's address on Iraq. With reporters live from the heart of the story in Baghdad and Washington. Find out what the plan really means for U.S. troops. Special coverage starts in the Situation Room. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
Many Americans who watch President Bush speak tonight won't necessarily respond to his plan for a troop buildup in Iraq in political terms. For some, it will be very, very personal. Our chief national correspondent, John King, has the story of one Ohio father's struggle. John's joining us from across the border in Cincinnati. John, tell us this incredible story.
Well, Wolf, as we dissect the president's plan and as we watch the fascinating political debate now underway in Congress over what to do about it, we also thought it was important to retrace some steps we took about 18 months ago and revisit some families. For them, Iraq is not a faraway war, nor is it a bitter partisan divide. For the families of Lima Company, it is intensely personal.
The heroes of Lima Company are remembered in somber public memorials, and remembered 17 months later in the private shrines of parents who still gasp when the doorbell rings, still hesitate to watch the news.
Every time I hear another casualty report, it's like a knife going through me, because I know what that service person's family is going to feel like.
Lance Corporal Christopher Dyer was 19 when he was killed by a roadside bomb in Haditha. Back then, the U.S. death toll was at the 1,800 mark, and his father, who had questioned the war, wrote the president urging him to win it.
But if that could happen, then I might be able to reconcile myself to the seeing that my son's death had contributed to something.
Dyer still feels that way, but worries Iraq has become too political, and the war itself off course.
Because I don't think we're any better off in Iraq than we were a year and a half ago with another 1,200 servicemen killed, and in some ways we're worse off.
Isolde Zirk's newsletter kept Lima Company families informed during their long deployment. Her son is back home now, so talk of a troop surge hits hard.
My son could be another one that, has to go back, even though we are not slated to go. But you have to find 20,000 or 30,000 people somewhere.
Zirk supports the war, but knows Democratic gains in last year's elections prove she's outnumbered.
The majority is not satisfied and wanted to change.
The Lima Company deaths were a turning point for public opinion here in Ohio, the state where Mr. Bush began the march to war with such certainty.
The threat comes from Iraq. It possesses and produces chemical and biological weapons. It is seeking nuclear weapons.
4 years later, 72% of Americans disapprove of how Mr. Bush is handling Iraq, and 61% in a USA Today Gallup poll oppose increasing troop levels.
In terms of his credibility, I think it's at an all-time low for most people.
John Dyer keeps thinking it is time to put most of this away.
This is obviously not even close to what we had in our dreams, or in his dreams.
But he wants to believe Chris's death was not in vain, and will be listening to see if the president gives him hope.
Obviously, it's very depressing sometimes I can't even watch the news because of what's going on, but I just don't see an alternative to not staying and seeing it through. I'm trying to be hopeful and optimistic, but it is very difficult.
Wolf, what is most striking in talking to these parents is they talk about the war in a much less black and white way, as we hear in the political debate back in Washington. John Dyer, for example, says the president has made a great number of mistakes, and in his view should be very candid about those mistakes in his speech tonight. But he also says that in his view, tens of thousands of U.S. troops will be in Iraq for years to come, and that Mr. Bush will be the commander-in-chief for 2 more years. He wishes the Democrats and the Republicans could have a conversation about what to do next, not a political fight. Wolf?
He's not ready to acknowledge or to say that his son may have died in vain.
It's very difficult. I was in this house 18 months ago, back in it again. There is still a shrine to Chris Dyer set up in the house, and you can just feel this father's anguish. His son was a Kerry supporter back in 2004. This father voted for Bush, but thought the war was quite questionable. But now he wants to be able to say that his son died as part of something valiant, something worthwhile, which is why he says he's willing to support a troop surge as long as the president explains what it is. But you can just sense, Wolf, he wants to be able to say that his son died for a reason, and he looks at Iraq nowadays. When he watches the news, it's quite painful, and he doesn't see the progress that he keeps hoping for.
What a moving report, John. Thank you very much. John's going to be joining us later in the Situation Room for our special coverage leading up to the president's address. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking for House Democrats and their 100 hours of legislative business. Or is it? If you visited the House Majority Leader's website this week, you'll notice the official clock stops, then starts up again. Let's get a better understanding of just how the whole clock thing is working. We'll bring in our internet reporter, Abby Tatton. Abby?
Wolf, if you look at it now, it's going right now, but it will stop again after legislative business is done for the day. That's because it's controlled by a staff member in the majority leader's office. It ticks only while the House is voting or debating on official business. The clock started up yesterday. It was supposed to start at noon. It eventually got going at 1 o'clock, and then it ran yesterday for 6 hours and 46 minutes while the House acted on 9/11 Commission recommendations, amongst other things. It's now up to almost 12 hours. We've noticed some inconsistencies with when it runs. During debate yesterday on one resolution, it was ticking at one point but not at another point. The House, you'll find this clock at various places of the websites of the House Democratic leadership. The rate that legislation is going, the Democrats should complete their main goals well under the allotted time. Wolf?
Thank you, Abby, for that. And remember to stay with CNN for the latest developments on the House Democrats' 100-hour agenda. We're going to keep you posted every step of the way. You'll also find that clock periodically in the lower right-hand corner of our screen. Still to come in our strategy session, what does the president have to do to quell the Republican rebellion over his plan to send more U.S. troops into Iraq? We'll tell you. Stay with us.
You have to shift. You have to make change. Clearly in Iraq today we have...
down the street. I'm bored with looking good. 'Cause I'm a punk rocker, yes I am.
Tonight on 360, all the angles on President Bush's new war plan, Iraq exit strategy or no way out. Tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Hi, it's John for Dick Hanna and the giant Vancouver Auto Mall with the largest new and mechanic-certified pre-owned inventory of cars and trucks in the state of Washington. The future of auto buying is here in this single state-of-the-art standalone auto mall. From Portland, we're just a bridge away, but people come from Seattle to Salem saying, wow, I never knew. Thousands of Dick Hanna new and mechanic-certified pre-owned cars and trucks in one location, just a bridge away at the new auto mall concept where our goal is to simply sell for less.
Did you say cut those hooker nails?
Yes.
Did you say you need a nose job to a homeless girl?
Yes.
Will you refrain from any derogatory comments in season 2?
Yes.
The Janice Dickinson Modeling Agency premieres Wednesday, January 10th at 10.
Call today and upgrade to the Comcast bundle for just $99 a month for up to 12 months. Call 1-800-COMCAST today for details.
I've been waiting for so long, now I finally found someone to stand by me. We saw the writing on the wall as we felt this magical fantasy. Listen, baby, I've had the time of my life, and I owe it all to
We're the Puckheads.
the Puckheads.
We're hardcore and we will not miss a game. But the only way we can see our favorite team is to go city to city and catch all the action.
All the action. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, we're not like those fair weather hockey fans who've got some kind of fancy schmancy NHL center ice package so they can watch all the action at home.
All the action.
At home? NHL Center Ice. Catch a free preview January 8th through the 14th. Every game's a home game on digital cable.
I thought you said the van was home.
Senators McCain, Obama, and more after the president's Iraq speech. Larry King tonight.
Welcome back in our strategy session today. President Bush prepares to unveil and sell his new plan for Iraq. But how might it be received by the American public and by his own party? Joining us now are political analyst and Democratic strategist James Carville and Terry Jeffrey, the editor of Human Events. Guys, thanks very much for coming in. Here's Dan Bartlett speaking earlier today, the White House counselor, saying the president's going to make his case for the increase in troops. Listen to this.
President Bush would not make this commitment today if he didn't think those preconditions were set by the Iraqis that would change the fundamental failures of the past. This is a new course. It's a new strategy, and the increased troops is to support that strategy.
All right, well, what do you think? It's a tough sell he's got.
Yes, it's a very tough sell. I mean, the president's credibility, I mean, honestly, as you pointed out earlier, the president's credibility has got problems. People are very skeptical about whether this can work. They're very shaky within the Republican Party. The people that are up in 08 are extremely queasy about this. And he's got to give people a confidence, even if this is the right strategy, that he can execute it. So he's got a big job tonight. We shouldn't underestimate the difficulty of the task ahead of him.
It's one thing, you know, for Chuck Hagel, even Gordon Smith, now Norm Coleman, all Republicans. Sam Brownback, now Republican of Kansas, he's going to be running for president. He's just put out a statement saying, I do not believe that sending more troops to Iraq is the answer. Iraq requires a political rather than a military solution. He's got problems within his own Republican ranks.
Well, there's no doubt about that. Well, if I'm a person, a conservative, who agrees with Sam Brownback on that point, but I will say this. The president needs to give a speech tonight that's 180 degrees different than the sort of speech he gave about Iraq before the election. Before the election, he talked about it in partisan terms, simplistic terms. Tonight, he needs to give people a specific and detailed understanding of how he sees the situation on the ground in Iraq, who are the factions we are fighting, how this change in strategy he believes is going to get us to the political solution, the rapprochement between the Sunnis and Shias that establishes the stability to get us out of there. He has to do that compellingly and in detail.
I'm told it's going to be about 20 minutes, his speech. It's going to be in the residential library over at the White House. He's going to be standing. It's not going to be one of these formal settings where he sits behind a desk or a table. He wants to have more of a conversation with the American people. What do you think of this strategy?
You know, they got to try something. I mean, in one sense, if you're over there, obviously it's not working politically, it's not working militarily, it's not working there. And I don't think it really matters whether he gives it sitting down or standing up, or whether he gives it in the residence or in the Oval Office, or, you know, Franklin Roosevelt, a fireside chat. I mean, they're constantly changing. They were absolutely winning the war during the election. Now he's got to be candid with people. And I mean, you just can't. Public opinion doesn't work where you go from 0 to 60, back to 0, up to 100, back to 20. I mean, it's herky-jerky. I think it's probably a pretty good idea, if I could defend him a little bit, to sort of do this in a more informal, conversational way. I don't have a problem with that.
In President Bush's most outstanding speeches, he's been able to communicate to people through the television a sense of real sincerity. This is something he truly believes in. Also, it's something, when he's given an outstanding speech, that he clearly has thought through very carefully, looked at the options, and weighed the consequences. We know that Bush has been looking at this for a long time. He needs to communicate those two things tonight. He thought this through carefully. He's very sincere about the way forward. Those are what people are going to be looking for.
He certainly has thought through this in great deal, going back at least in the day after the election when he unceremoniously asked Donald Rumsfeld to step down. He's been thinking about this for a long time, preparing this moment tonight.
No, there's nothing. I mean, you know, there's no saying that there's nothing get a donkey to think like hitting it over the head with a 2x4. Well, the voters hit him over the head with a 2x4, and that forced him into this sort of reevaluation of his strategy. I don't know, you know, how long 2 months is to fix this or anything else, but he has got an awfully skeptical Republican Party.
Here's the problem that this new U.S. strategy has, and I think I understand it fairly well. The problem is so much of it depends on Nouri al-Maliki, the Prime Minister of Iraq, living up to what he has promised the president when he says to the president, trust me, I'll get tough not only with the Sunnis, but with my fellow Shiites. It sort of relies on this guy and his colleagues living up to their word.
Well, that's why I'm fearful it will not work, Wolf. I don't think it puts enough pressure on Maliki. Maliki is a member of the Dawa Party, which is a call to Islam party. It operated in exile in Iran when Saddam was in power. He's in his government. The leading party is the Supreme Council for the Islamic Revolution in Iraq. I believe the Sunnis in Iraq look at these people and they see Islamic Shiite fundamentalists, and they don't see the kind of concessions coming out of Maliki's government. Another thing Bush needs to explain is how this strategy is going to put the pressure on Maliki and the Shiite Islamists and the Iraqi government to make the sort of concrete concessions that need to be made to the Sunni population, that the Sunni population
One thing is also very clear to me now, based on the conversations I had at the White House earlier today. This president has rejected the recommendation of the Iraq Study Group, the Baker-Hamilton commission to go ahead and engage in a dialogue with Iran and Syria. He doesn't believe there's anything to talk about with those two countries right now.
Basically, this is a president that doesn't believe in diplomacy. That he went into this war without exercising any diplomacy. That's been the hallmark of this administration. That is not surprising. They have been consistent in that. I think it's fair to say that this is a group that doesn't play well with other people. The other thing in terms of Maliki, I think people just remember Maliki was the architect of the Saddam Hussein hanging. And we know how successful that was. I mean, the only guy in the world that makes Saddam Hussein look sympathetic.
The president was sick to his stomach, I'm told, when he saw that cell phone video of Saddam Hussein being hanged. It reminded him of the video of Abu Ghraib, but that's another matter. We got to leave it right
Yes,
there,
sir.
guys. Thanks very much
you
for
all.
coming in, James and Terry. Up next, the Cafferty File. Would you want to receive an email alert with terror updates from the government? That's his question. Jack with the Cafferty File. Coming up.
Let me show you how I work.
Here's how it works. Get the nation's slimmest smartphone for only $99.99. The Q. With easy access to email and Windows Mobile. It's the stylish way to work. From Verizon Wireless, America's most reliable wireless broadband network. Verizon Wireless, it's the network.
As you age, it's essential to make the best healthy aging decisions, which is why GNC developed the GNC 50 Plus multivitamins, supporting healthy aging with energy, heart, vision, and memory support. For more than 70 years, we believe a quality life starts from within. Live well.
Phone. Okay, time to get organized.
We're gonna need a hand.
Let Office Depot help with everything from binders, file cabinets, and other organizational solutions to the latest tax preparation products and shredders. Office Depot comes in pretty handy. Click, call, or come by. Office Depot, taking care of business.
You should think about killing the mold in here, big guy.
How's that work for you?
There's a better way to deal with your mold problem.
Big guy?
Tilex, the mold killer.
You can feel the emotion of the movies the way filmmakers intend, but only if you have accurate and dramatic sound. For the full experience, you need lifelike surround sound. This is the new Lifestyle 48 DVD home entertainment system, the premium home theater system from Bose. The original has been called Home Entertainment Perfection.
The surround sound is just fantastic.
Room size, shape, and furnishings can significantly affect the sound from any system. The Bose Adapt IQ system addresses this to bring lifelike sound to any room.
It makes it feel like you're at the game.
Hear the difference Bose technology makes. Call for the store nearest you or for more information. Purchase a new Lifestyle 48 system by February 3rd and you'll receive the renowned Bose Wave Radio. Lifestyle home entertainment systems, only from Bose, the most respected name in sound.
Dish Network subscribers, stand up and object. Court TV has been dropped. Dish Network subscribers don't stand for this injustice. Get Court TV by calling 1-800-710-1922.
Closed captioning provided by Head On. Head On applied directly to the forehead.
Head On applied directly to
Head On, apply directly to the forehead. Head On, apply. Head On, I hate your commercial, but I love your product.
Head On is available without a prescription.
Jack has the Cafferty File. Jack?
Well, if the British can now register with their equivalent of the FBI and receive email terror alerts from their government, the question is, would you want to receive email alerts with terror updates from our government? Daisy in Circle Pines, Minnesota. 1, I have no reason to trust that Homeland Security people know what they're talking about. 2, I wouldn't do anything differently if there were an imminent threat from terrorists. And 3, living in fear is not really living. Besides, my inbox fills up fast enough. W in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Considering the efficiency of the U.S. government and their recognition and response to terrorism or natural disasters, it's probably better to either have the terrorists alert us or just wait until an event happens and try to fend for ourselves directly. We want to wake up the folks at Homeland Security or FEMA. Ross in Richmond, Virginia, no, the government would probably be the one sending out some sort of worm or Trojan horse that would allow them inside our computers, and we wouldn't be able to do anything about it because we signed up for their updates. Nick in New York, yes, the government should use any form of data or media and take any measure necessary to combat terrorism. There are many people that don't look at the news or have access to TV or radio during the day, but they might have access to cell phones, PDAs, Blackberries, and computers. Heather writes, I already know when terror alerts will be issued anytime Bush doesn't get what he wants. Charles in New York, Jack, our email inboxes already serve as the perfect microcosm of American phobias. Is my mortgage too high? Is my credit rating too low? Could I be having better sex? So why shouldn't the government get into the racket of daily spam composed to scare distracted Americans? Wolf?
Jack, thank you. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Standing by CNN reporters across the United States and around the world to bring you today's top stories happening now. It's 5 p.m. here in Washington. Just hours from now, President Bush goes before the nation with a high-stakes strategy change in Iraq. But it's built around a sizable troop increase, and the first units could deploy within a week or so. Will the American public buy the president's pitch? It's 1 a.m. in Baghdad, where the sectarian slaughter rages on. Can more U.S. troops really make a difference? Is the Iraqi government ready to do its part? And on Capitol Hill, Democrats voiced their doubts about the president's strategy, but will they use their newfound strength in a test of wills with the White House? I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. 2 months ago, Americans voted for change in an election dominated by the war in Iraq. Tonight, President Bush will announce changes in his Iraq strategy, including a significant increase in American troop strength. But he may have a very tough job selling that to a war-weary public and to a new Congress controlled by Democrats who are already accusing the president of escalating the war. As U.S. troops prepare to deploy and as violence rages on in Iraq, we'll go live to CNN's Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon, Ryan Chilcote in Baghdad. But let's begin this hour once again with our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, clearly the president's credibility is on the line here. Earlier today, President Bush reaching out to allies to really try to make sure that he has their support. The leaders of South Korea, Japan, as well as Poland, also top officials of Iraq, a Sunni, a Kurd, and a Shiite. It was just 2 months ago President Bush said that we were winning this war in Iraq. Well, tonight, senior administration officials tell us that he will acknowledge failure and mistakes, that there were not enough Iraqi troops as well as U.S. troops to accomplish the mission. Now, here's what he is going to announce. More than 21,000 U.S. troops to head to Baghdad. That is 5 brigades, the first one leaving from Kuwait, perhaps within the week. Also, 4,000 Marines going to Anbar province. That, of course, a stronghold to al-Qaeda. Now, what are the Iraqis going to do? We have been told that this is going to be a joint effort, and they hope the Iraqis will be out in front here. 3 more brigades to be sent beginning February or so. The goal here is for them to move into Baghdad, move into these other areas, and we are told that Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has personally given President Bush assurances that they can go anywhere in the country, including going into Sadr City, tracking some of the most dangerous militia. Wolf?
This is not going to be cheap financially, this new strategy. Talk a little bit about the money the president's going to try to get Congress to authorize.
Well, he's not going to talk about numbers this evening, but here's what the administration is asking for. We're talking about $5.6 billion for the military effort, that, of course, being requested in the budget supplemental, and then a $1 billion jobs program to bring the Iraqis back to work. So clearly, this is going to be a very expensive program in blood, in treasure, and as you know, Wolf, also in the president's own credibility here, his presidency and his legacy dependent on whether or not he succeeds or fails in the Iraq war.
The president is going to try to make this case in a 20-minute address to the nation, standing from the residential library over at the White House. Thanks, Suzanne, for that. Even before the president speaks to the nation, Democratic congressional leaders are speaking out. They met with Mr. Bush at the White House today, suggesting his Iraq plan is more than a day late and a dollar short.
I think this conversation that we had with the president just now would have been much better a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago. The president's practicing his speech right now. We have a conversation today that has no impact on what he's going to say. Consultation to me means consultation. You sit down and talk with people you're trying to work something out with, not after you've already written the speech.
And defectors emerging now among Republican ranks as well. Senator Norm Coleman of Minnesota today spoke out against a troop increase, saying it will risk more American lives and won't solve sectarian violence. And Kansas Republican Senator and presidential hopeful Sam Brownback today said that sending more troops to Iraq also is not the answer. In a statement, he says Iraq requires a political rather than a military solution. The president's plan for a buildup in Iraq has military planners working to step up the deployment of troops, and some troops will have to pull extra duty in the war zone. Let's get some more details from our senior Pentagon correspondent, Jamie McIntyre. Jamie?
Well, Wolf, those deployment orders have already been prepared, and Pentagon sources say that Defense Secretary Robert Gates plans to sign them tomorrow morning following tonight's announcement by the president.
Pentagon officials say the infusion of 5 Army brigades into Baghdad will be accomplished by what's called a modest acceleration of already scheduled deployments, and will not, at least initially, require sending any troops back to Iraq who were there last year. First in, say Pentagon sources, will be a brigade of the 82nd Airborne Division from Fort Bragg, already on standby in Kuwait. Next will be the 4th Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division based in Fort Riley, Kansas. Additional brigades will follow from Fort Lewis, Washington, and Fort Stewart and Fort Benning, Georgia. While the plan will avoid breaking the Army's promise to soldiers to give them at least a year off from the battlefield, it will extend by 4 months the tour of 1 National Guard brigade from Minnesota, already in Iraq. President Bush is ordering the troop increase over the reservations of some senior commanders, including some members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who warn unless the Iraqis suddenly do more, the plan could just make things worse.
The notion that we are going to distribute small numbers of light infantrymen into neighborhoods, winning over the goodwill of the population, is delusional. What we really risk is the loss of substantial American life with that particular tactic.
But the Pentagon argues the additional U.S. forces will use completely different tactics to prop up the Iraqi troops and ensure they hold Baghdad neighborhoods after they are cleared.
I think it can work. I really think that if we undertake this with the level of forces that we're proposing, this is a feasible undertaking. I really think that we've talked ourselves into believing that this problem is insoluble.
Now, the Pentagon says in the short term it can provide the reinforcements without putting too much stress on the military. But if the need for additional troops goes beyond August, then Pentagon sources say the Army is going to look at lifting the 24-month limit on the deployment of Guard and Reserve troops and consider sending back soldiers who've already spent 2 years in the war zone.
Yeah, we were told flatly by a senior administration official earlier in the day at the White House that if this has to be sustained, the additional 22,000 U.S. troops in Iraq for over a period of several months, the Pentagon is certainly going to have to look at activating National Guard and Reserve units that they had hoped not to have to activate. But you're hearing the same thing.
Exactly. You know, the goal was to give those units also from the Guard and Reserve 2.5 to 3 years off between deployments, and they may have to look at shortening that as well.
Jamie, thank you very much for that. Jamie McIntyre at the Pentagon. As President Bush prepares to reveal his new Iraq strategy, the violence in Iraq rages on. On the outskirts of Baghdad, a car bomb exploded in a gas station, killing at least 1 person. To the north, the suicide bomber killed 4 people, and gunmen ambushed a convoy carrying Shiite pilgrims. 10 died. In the capital, authorities say they found 60 more bodies in the streets. Will the president's plan offer Iraqis any answers? Let's go live to CNN's Ryan Chilcote. He's in Baghdad. He's getting the assessment there, how this is playing out on the streets of Iraq. Ryan, what's the latest?
Well, if we start with the Iraqi military commanders that I'm speaking with certainly think that this might be a step in the right direction. They think that more U.S. troops on the streets of Baghdad, which is what they consider to be the center of gravity right now in the war, will be helpful. It will help perhaps clean up Baghdad from the militants. They also think that it's good that this new strategy includes going after the militias. As for the Iraqi people, I think that many of them are hopeful but very skeptical. Keep in mind, they've seen 3 years of violence, and they've seen that violence escalate over those last 3 years. We've also heard from at least one group that's very influential among Iraq's Sunni Arabs that make up about 20% of the population. The Association of Muslim Scholars, they don't think it's a good idea. They think it will only lead to more U.S. casualties there. Quite to the contrary, they're saying that the U.S. should pull out. We haven't heard from any of the larger Shiite groups, but many of the Shiites here in Iraq will be skeptical of this. They've gotten used to their own militias providing security for them, like the Mehdi army. They will not welcome a troop increase. Finally, no one really thinks that this strategy will provide the answers unless their government is able to win over their support, to win their trust. And again, it is a Shiite-led government, but it does not have that much support even among Iraq's Shiites, and it has even less support among Iraq's Sunni Arabs that believe that this government is acting in a sectarian Shiite way and that it doesn't have their interests in mind.
We're going to see if this Iraqi government does what it's saying it will do. That's a key question right now. Ryan, thanks very much. We're going to get back to you soon. And to our viewers, remember, you're going to want to stay right here for the president's speech. Paul Lazan will be joining us right here in the special edition of the Situation Room with complete coverage and analysis. Our coverage starts 7 p.m. Eastern. After the president's speech, special editions of Larry King Live and Anderson Cooper 360, once again, right here on CNN. There's been a vote in the U.S. House of Representatives raising the nation's minimum wage, a federal minimum wage. Let's turn to Andrea Koppel. She's got the details. What do we know, Andrea?
Wolf, Speaker Nancy Pelosi gavelled the vote in as expected. The minimum wage, the vote to raise the minimum wage, passed overwhelmingly, 315 yeas to 116 against. That means for the first time since 1997, the minimum wage will be raised from where it is right now at $5.15 to $7.25. This will take place over the next 2 years, Wolf, and from here it heads over to the Senate. Wolf.
And we'll see what happens in the Senate, and then the president certainly would have to sign it into law. So the process will continue. Andrea, thanks very much for that. Jack Cafferty is in New York, once again with the Cafferty File. Jack.
President Bush told us 4 years ago the invasion of Iraq was necessary to strip Saddam Hussein of weapons of mass destruction. That original mission has been accomplished. Saddam was toppled from power. U.S. inspectors later found that Iraq dismantled its weapons programs back in the 1990s, and the 9/11 Commission eventually found that Iraq had no operational ties to al-Qaeda. The resolution that Congress passed in October of 2002, authorizing the president to use force to, quote, defend the national security of the U.S. against the continuing threat posed by Iraq, and to, quote, enforce all relevant UN Security Council resolutions regarding Iraq. Nothing about occupying the country indefinitely, nothing about presiding over an Iraq civil war. Meanwhile, Democrats are now talking about symbolic votes in the House and Senate on the president's plan to send more troops to Iraq. But symbolic votes against escalating the war in Iraq are just that. They're symbolic. They mean nothing. They don't mean any more than Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki's word that Iraq is suddenly going to stand up for itself. So here's the question. Should Congress vote to reverse the original authorization of military force in Iraq? Email your thoughts to CaffertyFile@CNN.com or go to CNN.com/CaffertyFile. Wolf?
Jack, thank you for that. And we're just getting word from the White House, our reporters at the White House, that they've just released some of the excerpts from the president's address tonight. We're going to bring you some of those excerpts from his speech. That's coming up. Also coming up, our congressional Democrats divided over a troop increase for Iraq. I'll ask Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He's standing by to join us live. Also, the political stakes of the president's plan. Some now saying they couldn't be higher for Iraq and the entire Middle East. Plus, what's the reality of a troop increase on the ground in Iraq? We're going to show you what it will look like. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room.
was turning 50, and so were my eyes.
Nancy came into Pearl Vision for her annual checkup.
Now my eyes see perfectly.
They're Nancy's eyes, but they're my responsibility.
Right now at Pearl Vision, buy one pair of eyeglasses and get a free pair valued up to $200.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. If your adjustable mortgage rate keeps rising, maybe it's time to call eLoan at 1-800-TRY-ELOAN or go to eLoan.com for a fixed-rate mortgage with one low monthly payment. eLoan. Radically simple.
Good morning. Thing is, aging doesn't happen one problem at a time. For me, first arthritis hit, then high blood pressure, and the Aleve I took for my arthritis pain, I learned it may interact with my prescriptions. It's a good thing I did my homework.
The pure pain relief of Tylenol arthritis pain works all day, and when used as directed, has less drug interaction risk than Aleve.
Absolutely, that's right. Very good.
Why are American middle-class workers working longer and harder than Europeans? Why does it take two incomes for a middle-class family just to get by? It's time to put our middle class first.
Lou Dobbs tonight, CNN 6 Eastern.
It's time for answers.
Tonight, CNN brings you President Bush's address on Iraq. With reporters live from the heart of the story in Baghdad and Washington. Find out what the plan really means for U.S. troops. Special coverage starts in the Situation Room. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
Make your cash work harder with a savings account 6 times the national average. Get 5.05% APY on your complete savings account, plus free quick transfers. It's easy. It's extraordinary. It's E-Trade.
Between my two phone bills, it's probably about $60 a month.
About $150.
Probably $100 a month.
With Vonage, you get unlimited calls to anywhere in the U.S. and Canada, and all the cool features you could ever want are included. And it's just $24.99 a month.
Call 1-800-970-8082 and get 1 month free. Act now and get a prepaid card worth $25. Spend it like cash.
Larry King tomorrow, an emotional primetime exclusive. Crocodile hunter Steve Irwin's widow Terry and 8-year-old daughter Bindi on coping with the shocking death of the husband and father they loved. Larry King Live, tomorrow 9 Eastern only on CNN.
Captioning hours provided by Creosote Sweeping Log, CSL Creosote Sweeping Log.
Every year, there are thousands of reported chimney fires. Protect your home with CSL Creosote Sweeping Log. Burn just once every 60 fires. CSL, the log with the chimney sweep on the box.
White House has just released some excerpts of the president's address to the nation tonight. Let's go back to the White House. Our correspondent Suzanne Malveaux has got those excerpts. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, you may recall it's just 2 months ago, President Bush said they were winning in this Iraq war, and now White House officials saying he is going to admit failure. One of these experts says our past efforts to secure Baghdad failed for 2 principal reasons. There were not enough Iraqi and American troops to secure neighborhoods that had been cleared of terrorists and insurgents, and there were too many restrictions on the troops we did have. Our military commanders reviewed the new Iraqi plan to ensure that address these mistakes. They report that it does. They also report that this plan can work, and Prime Minister Maliki has pledged that political or sectarian interference will not be tolerated. As you know, Wolf, that was a big problem. The limitations on U.S. troops, Iraqi troops, to actually go to Sadr City. That is where, of course, Muqtada al-Sadr's militia has really gained a stronghold in that area. I want to mention another thing, another excerpt here. He says when it comes to what Iraq must do, he says, I've made it clear to the Prime Minister and Iraq's other leaders that America's commitment is not open-ended. If the Iraqi government does not follow through on its promise, it will lose the support of the American people and it will lose the support of the Iraqi people. Wolf, the big question here is, what does that mean? We've been trying to get that answer all day. Is there a plan B? That is something that the administration, the White House, just is not addressing.
You know, it's interesting also that they really are putting the squeeze on the government of Nouri al-Maliki, the Prime Minister of Iraq, the White House, the Bush administration. They want this Iraqi government to deliver. They've been talking the talk, but they haven't necessarily been walking the walk. And it was interesting when I was over at the White House earlier, Suzanne, I heard a top U.S. official, a top Bush administration official, saying that the criticism coming from Democrats and some Republicans on the Hill and from the American public in terms of the vote in November, in effect, is helping the administration make the case to Nouri al-Maliki, the Prime Minister, that America's patience is not unlimited.
You're absolutely right. And one thing that the administration says, the thinking of the president here, why they think this is going to work, is they say that, of course, they've got this plan ahead that Maliki is a Shiite, but they also believe that he is an Iraqi patriot as well, and that he will ultimately put the interests of his country over any sect. But, of course, as you know, Wolf, that really remains to be seen.
Suzanne, thank you for that. Suzanne's going to be busy tonight. We'll be checking back with her often. Coming up, a plan to end the chaos and the violence in Iraq. But the one the president unveils tonight won't be his first. Can it succeed where others have failed? Plus, we'll show you what's at stake for Iraq and the Middle East if this new strategy were to fail. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, the president's plan to try to save Iraq. President Bush addresses the nation. We'll set the stage tonight in the Situation Room.
I'm here to talk about the Sprint network. Assisting me is Henry Alshman, attorney. Sprint has the largest voice calling area and the largest mobile broadband network. No one has a more powerful network. It even protects us from meteors. Well, that's the word on the street.
Switch to the Sprint Power Network. Buy one Katana, get one free. Sprint. Power up.
My dad's great, but I just wish he could be around more. He's always having to go back to the office for something. Even my birthday last week. Right in the middle of the party, he had to go back to the office. Or the time we were playing catch in the backyard. It was a real Field of Dreams kind of moment. So last night, Mom and I decided to take matters into our own hands. In less than 2 minutes, we signed out for a free trial of GoToMyPC. With GoToMyPC, Dad can access his office PC right here from home. He can use all his programs, work on his files, check email. Anything he can do in his office PC, he can do from anywhere. But since today's Saturday, and he's got a bunch of chores lined up for me.
Hey, Kevin, why don't you come help me wash the car?
I figured I'd wait for tomorrow to show him. You can try GoToMyPC free, too. Visit GoToMyPC.com/TV.
Tonight on 360, all the angles on President Bush's new war plan, Iraq, exit strategy, or no way out. Tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
As a kid, I used technology to help people do better. Today, Scottrade does the same for online investors with more powerful trading and account management tools, fast, accurate $7 trades, and offices near you, wherever you are. Open a Scottrade account today and get more for your money.
Stay calm. We're going to save you. Stop freaking out. Hop into the basket one at a time.
Save some cabbage. Sign up for Comcast Digital Voice for just $39.95 a month, every month. With unlimited local and long distance plus voicemail. Because the less money you pay, the more you get to keep for yourself. Just call 1-888-COMCAST. Comcast Digital Voice. It's Comcastic.
The King Papers, all this week. American Morning, 6 Eastern.
Let's check back with Carol Costello for another important look at some other important stories making news. Carol?
Hi, Wolf. Hello to all of you. Nicaragua has a new president. He is former Sandinista leader Daniel Ortega. He led the country's Marxist government for 11 years while fighting a civil war against the U.S.-backed Contras. Among those attending the inauguration, Ortega's fellow leftist, Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. Chavez, by the way, was also sworn in today for a new 6-year term, declaring in his oath, socialism or death.
Ciudadano.
Sudan's president rebuffing calls for United Nations peacekeepers in war-torn Darfur. New Mexico governor and possible Democratic presidential contender Bill Richardson is in Sudan trying to facilitate peace efforts. He did manage to forge a 60-day ceasefire to allow for new talks. More than 200,000 people have been killed in Darfur and 2 million displaced in what the U.S. government has termed a genocide. Senate Democrats taking up privacy issues. The Judiciary Committee held a hearing on data mining. That's the computerized search for information on suspected terrorists and criminals. Witnesses testify that new technology is outdating current privacy laws. Committee Chairman Patrick Leahy and member Russ Feingold are co-sponsoring a bill increasing congressional oversight of government data mining. Look at the headlines right now, Wolf.
Carol, thank you very much. We're going to get back to you soon. Coming up, the president's new plan for Iraq. We're going to show you why critics say it's his last chance to try to turn around the war and preserve his legacy. Plus, I'll talk about the Democrats' reaction to a troop increase and what they can do about it with Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He's standing by live. Stay with us. You're in the Situation.
It's been reported that the marquee element of this.
If you purchased or refinanced your home a couple of years ago and you got one of those adjustable teaser rates to qualify, just call or log on to ditech.com and refinance to a low fixed rate. Log on or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
What I love about her?
What I love about him.
How much time do we have?
I love Thomas because he's just...
I love everything about Sharon. Everything.
Everything. I love him as he is.
Find everything you're looking for on eharmony.com. Log on today.
Head on. Apply directly to...
Head on. Apply directly to the forehead. Head on. Apply... Head on. I hate your commercial, but I love your product.
Head on is available without a prescription. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Back pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Backache. In stores now. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis. In stores now.
Escape to a world of vibrant color, captivating design, and luxurious style with Stainmaster Carpet. Experience a whole new era in style and beauty for your home. Stainmaster Carpet. Always stylish, always beautiful. For a retailer near you, visit Stainmaster.com.
If you're a man over 50, it's time to take the Avidart quiz. Are you always going? Do you have trouble going? Are you going at night? Maybe you think you have a going problem. But what if it's a growing problem? What if it's not your bladder, but instead you have an enlarging prostate? 50% of men over 50 do, and you may be able to do something about that going and growing with Avidart. Most medicines only treat symptoms. Avidart, with time, actually shrinks the prostate and improves urinary symptoms. Only your doctor can tell if your symptoms are from an enlarged prostate and not a more serious condition, such as prostate cancer. So have regular prostate exams. Avidart is for men only. Women should not take or handle Avidart due to the risk of a specific birth defect. Tell your doctor if you have liver disease. Rarely, sexual side effects, tenderness, or swelling of the breast can occur. Have you called your doctor? Avidart, for your growing problem.
To our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time. Happening now. President Bush poised to announce he's sending more than 21,000 additional troops to Iraq in what many see as a last-ditch effort to try to end the violence and the chaos plaguing the U.S. mission there. And we're now learning the first of those forces could be deployed within days. Most congressional Democrats firmly opposed to any troop increase. Their hands, though, are largely tied on the matter. Others, Democrats, including Senator Jack Reed, openly very, very skeptical. Senator Jack Reed, I'm standing by. I'll ask him what he wants to see in the president's plan and what the Democratic strategy will be to deal with it. And this won't be the first troop increase, but some say it's the president's last chance to salvage the war and his legacy. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. As baseball great Yogi Berra once said, it's deja vu all over again. This is not the first time the president will come out with a plan to try to stop the violence in Iraq. And a lot of what we'll hear tonight from the president may sound somewhat familiar. Let's bring in our senior national correspondent, John Roberts. John?
Good afternoon, Wolf. We've heard it again and again over the last 4 years. In fact, almost every time the president gives a speech about Iraq, that it could be the most important speech of his presidency. Well, tonight's could be the most important speech of his presidency, and Americans can be forgiven if it gives them a sense of déjà vu.
If it feels like it's all been said before,
I've been discussing our political, economic, and military strategy for victory in that country.
it's because it probably has.
A major new campaign to end the security crisis in Baghdad.
From his most recent series of speeches during last year's campaign, all the way back to the deck of the Abraham Lincoln.
The transition from dictatorship to democracy will take time.
The president has repeatedly appealed for patience, while successive plans to stabilize Iraq have failed.
I think this is the last chance for him. He's got only 2 more years left in his administration. He needs as much popular support as he's apt to get from this speech.
And does this last chance stand any better chance than plans before it? Perhaps, says General Don Shepard, if the president gives up his central idea of winning.
The key is turning the war over to the Iraqis, not Americans winning the war. Americans cannot bring security to Iraq, nor can they bring security to Baghdad.
By increasing troops, President Bush is both following an old playbook to secure Iraqi elections.
We will increase U.S. troop strength by about 12,000 personnel.
And contradicting what he said 6 months later.
Sending more Americans would undermine our strategy of encouraging Iraqis to take the lead in this fight.
Will the gamble pay off this time around? Here's what foreign policy expert Michael O'Hanlon told Congress today.
The best you could hope for out of a surge is to get violence back to where it was maybe in 2004, or if you're really lucky, the more difficult parts of 2003.
At risk for President Bush is legacy. Success could revive his presidency. Another failure could seal his place in history.
There's no question that the one line after his entry in the encyclopedia, George W. Bush, 43rd President of the United States, who chose to invade Iraq, and then whatever the consequences may be.
And if it doesn't work, what then?
If this doesn't work, we leave Iraq, we put the best face on it we can, and we stand by for the next big event. And we be very, very careful and very studied about committing ourselves to combat anywhere again.
But some experts believe that this war is going to pass on to the next administration. And they say Democrats who are planning all of this symbolic wrist slapping over the next week should consider that they may end up inheriting this mess. Wolf?
We'll see what happens. Thanks very much for that. Good report, John Roberts. Key Democrats suggest the president's new strategy is simply too little, too late. And they say that 2 months ago, voters demanded dramatic change and an end to the war. The Democrats worry that the president's new plan represents what they call an escalation of the war. Joining us now from Capitol Hill, Democratic Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island. He's a key member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Senator, thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you, Wolf.
Why not give the president at this point the benefit of the doubt and let him see if this new strategy actually works?
Well, this is not really a new strategy. This is just more of the old strategy, trying to take a military approach primarily to what is a fundamentally political problem which the Iraqis must solve. And the key ingredients of that solution are providing competent government, which they haven't done yet for their own people, providing resources, their own resources to help their economy, but most particularly going after all the militias, not just the Sunni insurgents, but also the Shia militias. And Maliki and his government have done very little of that, although they've said many times they would do it.
But he says he's got a firm commitment now from the Iraqi government, from the prime minister, to do what they have, that you correctly point out, they refused to do in the past. Is it too late to give the prime minister, Nouri al-Maliki, another chance?
Well, I think it really is too late because, frankly, I think the political dynamic in Baghdad today is that the Shia government feels that they're winning. They're accomplishing their objectives. They're marginalizing the Sunnis. They're entrenching themselves so they'll never again fear a Sunni leadership dominating them. That's an awful tough dynamic to change, and I think Maliki, with his best intentions, would be very challenged to change it. One hopes he does that, but I think, again, the president has rested so much of what he wanted to do in Iraq on hopes, not on reality and not on good strategy.
This is a plan, this additional increase in the number of troops, that it's not going to be cheap. The numbers coming out of the White House, total cost for this new Bush proposal, $6.8 billion, of which $5.6 billion is to pay for the troop increase, $1.2 billion for an aid package, including a jobs program for Iraqis. What are you going to do about this money? Are you going to try to block it?
Well, I think first what we're going to do, Wolf, is debate this whole new policy. It's not much of a new policy, but certainly debate it. And then I think we will vote next week, up or down, on a resolution of whether or not this Senate and the House also will favor this policy. I think after that we might be able to create a new dynamic, particularly if Democrats and Republicans alike are skeptical and oppose the policy. And then I think we have to look closely at the spending. But at this juncture, to sort of arbitrarily and categorically talk about what we're going to fund and what we're not going to fund, I think is putting the cart before the horse.
Those are symbolic votes you're going to have in the House and the Senate. Sense of the Senate resolution, sense of the House resolution. They send a political message to the White House, but they aren't binding.
Well, they're not binding, but that political message, coupled with, I think, an adverse reaction by the American public, should, I think, get the president thinking again about a better strategy, a strategy that's not just more military, but talks about different missions that are more central to our national security, and also beginning to do what I think ultimately has to be done is some type of phased, careful redeployment. Until he does that, and by the way, that was the bulk, I think, of the suggestions of the Iraqi study group, I don't think the American public are going to be convinced, and they're more important than, indeed, our votes, about his credibility and his capability of leading this country in Iraq.
If the president insists failure is not an option, what would you've been to Iraq several times, you're a respected voice when it comes to military matters, national security. What do you want him to do to make sure that Iraq doesn't simply collapse into all-out even more civil war than may already be the case, and that Iran doesn't emerge as the principal player in that part of the world?
Well, there are residual missions for American military forces. First, I think he properly should be concerned about maintaining and enhancing the capability of the Iraqis, their security forces, to defend their country and to support their government. Second, we have an ongoing mission to go after, wherever they are, al-Qaeda elements. And then third, I think we also have to be prepared through deterrence to prevent any type of exploitation of the situation by the neighbors of Iraq in the region. That can be done by redeploying first within the country and also from continuing our presence in the Gulf region. That is, I think, a more sensible approach that minimizes the consequences of what today has been, I think, a flawed strategy, extremely poorly executed.
If you had your way, how long would it take to get U.S. forces, about 130, 140,000 there right now, out of Iraq?
Well, I think the key benchmark are the combat brigades, those units that are tasked with fighting the insurgents. I would hope that within 4 to 6 months we could begin to pull those brigades out, redeploy them out of certainly the contested areas, maybe even into Kuwait. There will be a long-term need to train the Iraqi security forces, but that mission of training, of equipping, and of getting up to capability of the Iraqi security forces is probably an ongoing one, but it's one that's much more, I think, central to what our proper role is in Iraq.
Senator Jack Reed, thanks very much. Also, congratulations to you and your wife, a little baby girl, Emily, right?
That's correct. Thank you.
A proud papa indeed. Good work on that front as well, Senator Reed. Thank you. And you're going to want to stay right here for tonight's speech by the president. Paul Azan will be joining us in a special edition of the Situation Room with complete coverage and analysis. Our coverage will begin 7 p.m. Eastern. And after the president's speech, special editions of Larry King Live and Anderson Cooper 360, all right here on CNN. Up ahead, if the president's high-stakes strategy shift doesn't work, it could be Iraqi leaders who would pay the price. Waiting in the wings, a powerful anti-American faction. From surge to increase to escalation, the language attached to the president's planned troop boost has many meanings to many people. Carol Costello standing by to take a closer look. We'll be right back.
Hi, Kathy Mitchell here in the kitchen with the incredible new flat fold colander. It opens to strain and folds flat for easy storage. It's the colander that's large enough to strain a big pot of pasta, but folds down small enough that you can store it anywhere. And it even saves space in the dishwasher. Trying to strain with a pot and lid can be an accident waiting to happen. But watch! The flat fold colander drains quickly, and the pour spout allows me to move the food without losing a single piece. Just look at how much space ordinary colanders take up. With flat fold colanders, you'll save a lot of space. Other colanders sit low in the sink, so the water actually backs up inside. But the flat fold colander stands tall, so whether you're washing, rinsing, straining, or draining, the water stays away from the food. The flat fold colander is large and strong enough to hold 10 pounds of potatoes. The easy grip handles make it easy to lift, and it won't tip over. Use it for straining pastas or steamed vegetables, or easily clean a giant head of romaine lettuce. And remember, the flat fold colander stores thin enough, you can slide it away into any small space. I like to take it to the garden when I gather fresh vegetables, and then right into the sink to rinse them off. And you know, you can even prep and toss a family-sized salad in the flat fold colander. And the best part of that, no more soggy salads. And when you're done, just snap it closed and tuck it away, out of the way. Call now to get the flat fold colander for just $14.99. As a bonus, you'll also get the 6-piece flat fold storage set, a $15 value, yours free. They flatten down to 1 inch so they save even more space in your cabinets. Then pop open easily to keep foods in the refrigerator or freezer. And they're dishwasher safe. But wait, order right now and we'll even include a second flat fold colander. Just pay separate shipping and handling. That means you get 2 flat fold colanders and the 6-piece flat fold storage set, a combined $45 value, all for just $14.99.
Call 1-800-304-8817 to get your flat fold colander for only $14.99. That's 1-800-304-8817. This TV offer is not in stores, so call now 1-800-304-8817.
Watch the stars come out on CNN. CNN's coverage of the Golden Globe Awards includes red carpet arrivals.
I never dreamt that I would wind up on a carpet quite as red as this.
And doesn't stop until the after parties are over.
It gave me chills.
Watch CNN for an inside look at the fashions and behind-the-scenes excitement. Sevilla Vargas takes you on the road to gold, making stops at the night's most exclusive events. CNN's coverage begins Friday at 8 a.m. on American Morning. Sponsored by L'Oreal Paris, because you're worth it.
Closed captioning hours provided by Nature's Tears Eye Mist Dry Relief.
Nature's Tears Eye Mist, the natural way to soothe and moisturize tired, strained, dry eyes. Nature's Tears Eye Mist. Now, doesn't that feel better?
While the president's new Iraq plan calls for a significant U.S. troop buildup, it will also put a lot of responsibility on Iraq's very fragile government. Can the Iraqis do their part? CNN's Brian Todd has that part of the story. Brian?
Wolf, real concerns tonight in Baghdad beyond whether the Bush plan will secure the streets. This new turn, experts say, has serious ramifications for the country's political future.
A besieged prime minister is confident his side is ready for President Bush's new plan to stabilize Iraq.
All our political, economic, media, security, and military resources will be used to support the operations which the capital Baghdad is waiting for.
The political resources had better be ready because experts say the political stakes couldn't be higher. If the plan falters and Nouri al-Maliki is pushed out, one analyst says the real powers from his Shia majority will take over.
The Mahdi Army, the Badr Brigades, and a few other Shia militias really run this government. If the U.S. plan is seen as not working, those groups are unlikely to leave the government because they benefit so much from their involvement in it.
With Shias left to pursue their interests, minority Sunnis would be completely alienated. A top Bush administration official tells CNN the Sunnis, although they're part of this government, believe they're not protected by it. An expert who's worked with the Bush administration on this plan says that's got to change.
It would be worthwhile trying to make it clear to the Iraqi Sunni that this is, on the contrary, it's not an assault on them, but on the contrary, it's an effort to protect them.
But if the Sunnis and other minority groups bail on this government, more than one analyst predicts it could trigger all-out civil war. Outside powers like Saudi Arabia could openly back Sunni militants. Iran, already supporting Shia groups, would step that up. Then,
inevitably what happens is that one side or another starts to lose. And when that happens, the backer, the great power backer, inevitably escalates its involvement, typically rising to the level of outright intervention, outright invasion.
If that seems far-fetched, remember it's already happened in Lebanon. In Baghdad, it comes down to securing the streets, making the Sunnis and other minorities feel they're protected, and making sure the Shias play along. That's why one analyst tells us there's really no distinction in Iraq between the political stakes and security on the ground. Wolf?
Brian Todd reporting, thank you. Meanwhile, the Iraqi president, Jalal Talabani, says the planned executions of 2 officials from the Saddam Hussein era should be delayed. He says that might ease sectarian tensions, which have spiked since last month's hanging of the former dictator. Both men were sentenced to death in the same case which led to Saddam Hussein's execution. Barzan Hassan is Hussein's half-brother and former intelligence chief, while Awad Bandar is the former head of Iraq's Revolutionary Court. The White House is always very careful with the language it uses, and perhaps even more so when it comes to the controversy over a troop increase for Iraq. Let's go back to CNN's Carol Costello. She's in New York with more on this story. Carol?
They are careful, Wolf. Some might say masters at governing by slogan. You know, no child left behind, compassionate conservatism. But the latest catchword has created a war of words over the war.
One of the latest Republican buzzwords? Surge. Suddenly, everybody who's anybody has been saying it.
A surge of troops. The surge will occur.
The decision of the surge.
Whether it is called a surge or any other name,
it didn't come out of nowhere. The New York Times on November 21st reported the term sprung from the Pentagon, and ever since it's caught on, describing Mr. Bush's idea of adding troops in Iraq. Eric Schnurr is a political speechwriter.
Well, I think they meant to connotate something that would be quick.
And indeed, the definition of surge is a strong forward movement, like waves in the ocean, in then out. But opponents of the surge quickly came up with their own buzzword.
Saying we don't support this escalation of the war.
Escalation.
An escalation.
Americans have caught on to the game. Bloggers coming up with alternatives to the term surge. Examples, swellify and Viagrification. Of course, none of this is really funny, but Schnurr bets surge will not come out of the president's mouth tonight.
Knowing the reaction that surge got, my guess is that they would try to stay away from the catchy.
What might work then? Well, if you subtract surge from escalation, you might get increased temporarily. Other terms you most likely will not hear?
Stay the course. Stay the course.
Pundits coined that phrase to mean steely resolve. It's come to mean stubbornly rigid. So instead, you may hear this.
The way forward to fashion a new way forward.
Here's another one you likely won't hear.
some isolationist or cut-and-run approach.
People, this is not a cut-and-run strategy.
It used to mean Democrats are cowards. Now, because most Americans want our troops to leave Iraq, it's called
his hope that the U.S. troops can begin to withdraw.
Sought to seek an artificial date for withdrawal.
The words politicians use are so important. Sometimes they actually poll the public to see how it responds to a term before a politician ever utters it in public. Wolf?
Carol, thank you very much. Carol Costello reporting. Lou Dobbs getting ready for his program that begins right at the top of the hour a few minutes from now. Lou's standing by to tell us what he's working on. Lou?
Well, thank you. Coming up at 6 p.m. Eastern here on CNN. Tonight, we're reporting on a case that has sparked national outrage. 2 former U.S. Border Patrol agents are scheduled to go to prison next week for doing their jobs and shooting a Mexican drug smuggler given immunity by the Justice Department. Some in Congress are simply furious, and one of those lawmakers is Congressman Dana Rohrabacher. He's among our guests here tonight. Also, the House of Representatives has voted to raise the minimum wage for the first time in a decade, but corporate and special interests still trying to block the increase with the help of their friends in the U.S. Senate. We'll have that story, and left-wing leaders in Latin America forming a dangerous alliance with Iran's president to confront the United States in this hemisphere. We'll have that special report, a preview of the president's Iraq speech tonight. All of that, all the day's news, and more at the top of the hour. Please join us. Wolf, back to you.
See you in a few minutes, Lou. Thank you very much for that. Still ahead. He lost his son in Iraq when the death toll was 1,800. In our 7 p.m. Eastern hour, John King pays a return visit to a family still grieving. And just ahead, Barbara Starr has new details about the hunt for al-Qaeda in Somalia. She's traveling in Africa right now. She's right in the region. Stay with us. You're in the Situation Room. Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern, the president's plan to try to save Iraq. President Bush addresses the nation. We'll set the stage tonight in the Situation Room.
Forget fine lines. It's deep wrinkles that make us look older. Neutrogena Anti-Wrinkle Intensive Serum delivers 4 times the retinol to help fill in the look of even the deepest wrinkles. Don't let deep wrinkles tell your age. Anti-Wrinkle Intensive Serum. Neutrogena.
Here's a radically simple suggestion from eLoan. Spend too much money spreading the holiday cheer? Consolidate your debt with a home equity loan and pay one low monthly rate. Just call 1-800-TRY-eLoan or go to eLoan.com. eLoan. Radically simple.
Why aren't middle-class wages going up? Why does it take 2 incomes just to get by?
Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN coming up next.
It's time for answers.
Hello, I'm Senator Gordon Smith. Thousands of Oregonians have served proudly fighting the war on terror in Iraq and Afghanistan. Many are back home and back on the job, but some are looking for work. You can help. The Hire a Vets First program connects skilled veterans with the right jobs in Clackamas County and throughout Oregon. They are skilled workers who serve their state and their country and who are now ready to serve your business. So please, let's make room for a vet.
Cholesterol. My doctor said to watch it. So I ride my bike, eat the good stuff, and take garlic every day.
Garlic's clinically proven ingredient maintains healthy cholesterol naturally.
My doctor's happy. So am I.
Eat right, exercise, garlic.
Does back pain limit your motion?
Get relief with Icy Hot Pro Therapy. Powered by Hot Packs. Up to 8 hours of muscle-relaxing, pain-relieving heat that goes where you go. Icy Hot Pro Therapy.
Strong support plus powerful relief.
If you're tired of paying for high-priced, old-fashioned help wanted ads in the newspaper, then do what over 1,000 other business owners have done. Make the switch to PortlandJobFinder.com. Brought to you in partnership with Comcast Spotlight.
Portland Job Finders is a service we use here at Willamette Mortgage Services to help us recruit potential loan officers for our business. We've had tremendous success with the quality of personnel that come from Portland Job Finder.
PortlandJobFinder.com, the faster, more effective way to find local employees.
Comcast is home entertainment. HGTV answers the age-old question, what the heck is that thing? Watch That House, Sunday nights at 10 p.m. on HGTV, Comcast Channel 67. Ham on the Street is new and improved this season. Hot and spicy, totally cheesy, more food for your senses. Wednesdays at 10:30 p.m. on the Food Network, Comcast Channel 66. Your home on Comcast.
CNN Special Investigations Unit series premiere, CNN Saturday, January 20th.
Let's turn now to the Horn of Africa. A Pentagon official says a second U.S. airstrike aimed at al-Qaeda suspects in Somalia was called off when the gunship lost track of its targets. That source also says 8 suspected terrorists were killed in Sunday's U.S. airstrike, but their identities have not been confirmed. Somali officials say a key suspect in the 1998 U.S. embassy bombings in East Africa is among the dead. U.S. officials, however, are not confirming that. Meantime, U.S. forces are still on the hunt for al-Qaeda in the region. Our Pentagon correspondent, Barbara Starr, is in neighboring Kenya. Barbara?
Wolf, a senior U.S. military official tells CNN the naval armada off the coast of Somalia will stay in place for some time to come, chasing down al-Qaeda targets of opportunity, al-Qaeda operatives on the run from Somalia. There are expected to be more U.S. military operations, and the cooperation with African intelligence services here in the Horn of Africa will continue. All of this now, though, raising questions about just how involved the United States military is becoming in the war out here. Sources say that the U.S. military is convinced that they did not kill any Somali civilians in that airstrike in southern Somalia, and that raises the question of how the U.S. would know that, unless, of course, there are already a small number of U.S. commandos on the ground in southern Somalia. The question now, is a wider war coming here in the Horn of Africa? There are 1,800 U.S. troops here as part of an anti-terrorism task force. And just as President Bush is speaking to the American people about the war in Iraq, the question now may be, is there a war here in the Horn of Africa that is going to involve U.S. military personnel? Wolf?
Sure looks like it, Barbara. Thank you very much for that. Barbara doing some excellent reporting for us from the Horn of Africa. Up next, Jack Cafferty wants to know, should Congress vote to reverse the original authorization of using military force in Iraq? Jack standing by with the Cafferty file when we come back.
If you're a man over 50, it's time to take the Avodart quiz. Are you always going? Do you have trouble going? Are you going at night? Maybe you think you have a going problem. But what if it's a growing problem? What if it's not your bladder, but instead you have an enlarging prostate? 50% of men over 50 do, and you may be able to do something about that going and growing with Avodart. Most medicines only treat symptoms. Avodart, with time, actually shrinks the prostate and improves urinary symptoms. Only your doctor can tell if your symptoms are from an enlarged prostate and not a more serious condition, such as prostate cancer. So have regular prostate exams. Avodart is for men only. Women should not take or handle Avodart due to the risk of a specific birth defect. Tell your doctor if you have liver disease. Rarely, sexual side effects, tenderness, or swelling of the breast can occur. Have you called your doctor? Avodart, for your growing problem.
What are you doing?
I'm sending pictures of the amazing Jack to Grandma.
You're sending me to Grandma's? But I have to save the world today.
Well, the world's gonna have to wait, because once I press this button, you're on your way to Florida. Back already?
I had superpowers, remember?
If only everyone knew you can share memories by uploading photos to Walgreens.com and sending them to any Walgreens nationwide.
Man has always been fascinated with traveling back in time. Well, now Sprint has actually moved the unlimited calling time back 2 hours from 9 p.m. to 7. It's science fiction meets cold, hard economics. Stupid time machine.
Switch to Sprint and get unlimited calls starting at 7 p.m. Sprint. Power up. Sprint gives you the power to start talking at 7 p.m. because night calling now starts 2 hours earlier. And with enhanced overage protection, there won't be any surprises on your bill. All with Sprint fair and flexible plans. Switch today and get the best value in wireless. Stop by your nearest Sprint store and get the A640 camera phone free. Sprint. Power up.
Tonight, CNN brings you President Bush's address on Iraq. With reporters live from the heart of the story in Baghdad and Washington. Find out what the plan really means for U.S. troops. Special coverage starts in the Situation Room. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern.
Here's a look at some of the hot shots coming in from our friends over at the Associated Press. Pictures likely to be in your hometown newspapers tomorrow. Off the coast of Somalia, an F-18 takes off from the deck of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. Near Beijing, Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert checks out the Great Wall of China. In New Orleans, First Lady Laura Bush plays a drum with a third grader at a children's museum. And at the Phoenix Zoo in Arizona, an orangutan plays with her mom. Some of today's hot shots. Pictures often worth 1,000 words. Let's go to Jack Cafferty in New York with the Cafferty File. Jack?
Wolf, the question this hour is, should Congress vote to reverse the original authorization of the use of military force in Iraq? Alice in Sanford, Florida writes, yes, the military has completed its job. Saddam's gone. A new government's been voted in. We support our troops best when we don't subject them to unnecessary danger. They did a great job. Bring them home. Of course, this was not the intention of the neocons and President Bush. They want to stay and control the country and its resources, even if our military is subjected to cruel and unusual punishment. We treat our criminals better. Marta, Topsfield, Massachusetts, our vote was not symbolic. It elected them. I expect more than a symbolic vote from them. D, Congress definitely should rescind their original misbegotten vote on Iraq. The real question is whether President Bush would pay any attention. Even if congressional authorization were withdrawn, Bush would probably stay the course illegally. Would Congress then have the backbone to begin impeachment proceedings? Kevin in Columbus, Ohio, Congress reversing the authority for military action in Iraq would be an absolute disaster. Iraq would become a country dominated by Iran and used as a staging ground for terrorist attacks against the free world. Our oil interests would be in jeopardy, and all our soldiers who were wounded and died would be for nothing. Anna, Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. Oh, sure, the Democratic Congress should vote to reverse the funding for the Iraq War. Can you imagine the outcry about not supporting the troops then? President Bush is stubbornly determined to add his name to our history books, no matter how many names it puts on tombstones. And Carrie in Alaska writes, Jack, your question opens a can of worms. Why can't we reverse our vote for who was elected the last 2 terms? If you didn't see your email here, you can go to cnn.com/Cafferty file, where you can read more of this stuff online. Wolf.
You know, it's fascinating, and we're not surprised that Democrats are coming out against the president's new strategy, but increasingly more and more Republicans are doing that. We're just getting a statement from Senator George Voinovich, Republican of Ohio. He says, at this point, I am skeptical that a surge in troops alone will bring an end to sectarian violence and the insurgency that is fomenting instability in Iraq. The generals who have served there do not believe additional troops alone will help. It's an interesting development after the election.
Well, let's see. The Democrats don't want it. An increasing number of Republicans don't want it. The American public doesn't want it. The Iraq Study Group doesn't want it. The generals who were in charge of the war who didn't want it aren't there anymore. What are we doing?
We're going to be listening to the president's speech tonight. That's coming up after we come back in 1 hour. Jack, thanks very much for that. One additional note we're getting, another name to add to the race for the White House. Senator Chris Dodd will announce his bid for the presidency tomorrow. That, according to Democratic officials quoted by the Associated Press. Dodd is a Democrat, as you know, from Connecticut. He was elected to the House of Representatives in 1974 at the age of 30. He's been in the Senate now for some 26 years. And this note, Chris Dodd will join us right here in the Situation Room tomorrow afternoon. Until then, thanks very much for joining us. Remember, starting in 1 hour, 7 p.m. Eastern, Paul Azan will be here with me to get ready for the president's address to the nation. Until then, thanks very much for watching. Let's go to Lou Dobbs in New York. Lou?
Well, thank you. 3 hours from now, President Bush will deliver one of the most important speeches of his presidency. President Bush will announce what is being called by the White House a new strategy in Iraq to break the cycle of violence. We'll have excerpts of the president's speech. We'll have analysis. And 2 former U.S. Border Patrol agents scheduled to go to prison next week for doing their job shooting a Mexican drug smuggler given immunity by the U.S. Justice Department. Some in Congress are furious. One of those lawmakers, Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, is among our guests here tonight. All of that, all of the day's news and more, straight ahead here tonight.
This is Lou Dobbs Tonight. News, debate, and opinion for Wednesday, January 10th. Live in New York, Lou Dobbs.
Good evening, everybody. President Bush tonight will announce that he is sending at least 21,000 more U.S. troops to Iraq. The White House says the president will also acknowledge past mistakes in strategy and conduct of the war in Iraq. The president believes his new strategy will help the United States succeed in a war that has now lasted longer than World War II and produced failure upon failure. Congressional Democrats strongly oppose what they say is an escalation of the war in Iraq, but those Democrats are far from united on how they will respond to the president's intent to raise the number of troops. Suzanne Malveaux at the White House tonight. Reporting on the president's speech, Dana Bash reports from Capitol Hill on the Democratic strategy, or lack of it, in the conduct of the war in Iraq. Jamie McIntyre tonight reports from the Pentagon on whether the president's plan will succeed or fail. We turn first to Suzanne Malveaux. Suzanne?
Well, Luke, clearly the president's credibility is on the line. It was just 2 months ago he said we were winning this Iraq war, and of course that is not the case now. There have been a lot of PR campaigns. There have been a series of speeches and new policies. The big question tonight, is this going to really be a viable strategy, or is it just going to be another pep rally? Senior administration officials, of course, telling us that he is going to roll out a plan. He's going to acknowledge failure. This is from one of the excerpts of the speech. He says our past efforts to secure Baghdad failed for 2 principal reasons. There were not enough Iraqi and American troops to secure neighborhoods that had been cleared of terrorists and insurgents. There were too many restrictions on the troops we did have. Our military commanders reviewed the new Iraqi plan to ensure that it addressed these mistakes. So there's a sense that they have more confidence in this military plan. Of course, that would include 21,000 more American troops headed to the region, as well as Iraqi forces, which would take the lead when it comes to Baghdad security. Another important point here, he says in another excerpt, I have made it clear to the Prime Minister and Iraq's other leaders that America's commitment is not open-ended. If the Iraqi government does not follow through on its promises, it will lose the support of the American people. And Lou, that really is the big question. What does that mean? What is the timetable? We understand the president, of course, is going to say he would hope that the Iraqi troops are able to secure their country by November. But in terms of whether or not there's a plan B, this administration cannot answer that question. Lou?
Can this administration, Suzanne, answer the question whether the Joint Chiefs of Staff approve of the president's recommendations to come tonight on a change of strategy and reinforcements to the U.S. military in Iraq?
Senior administration official who briefed us earlier today said that they had the support of the Office of the Joint Chiefs, but I have to tell you, Lou, people who I've spoken to privately say that that is not the case. There's a lot of frustration in the Pentagon as well as in that office that some really believe have serious doubts about this strategy, A, whether it makes sense, and B, whether or not it's going to be adequate.
Suzanne, thank you very much. Suzanne Malveaux reporting from the White House. President Bush's new plan faces many formidable military and political obstacles in Iraq. There are also concerns tonight that the president is not sending an adequate number of reinforcements to defeat the insurgency outright. Some military analysts say that an extra 50,000 troops would be required in Iraq to achieve substantial victory. Jamie McIntyre reports now from the Pentagon.
Pentagon officials say the infusion of 5 Army brigades into Baghdad will be accomplished by what's called a modest acceleration of already scheduled deployments, and will not, at least initially, require sending any troops back to Iraq who were there last year. First in, say Pentagon sources, will be a brigade of the 82nd Airborne Division from Fort Bragg, already on standby in Kuwait. Next will be the 4th Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division based in Fort Riley, Kansas. Additional brigades will follow from Fort Lewis, Washington, and Fort Stewart and Fort Benning, Georgia. While the plan will avoid breaking the Army's promise to soldiers to give them at least a year off from the battlefield, it will extend by 4 months the tour of 1 National Guard brigade from Minnesota, already in Iraq. President Bush is ordering the troop increase over the reservations of some senior commanders, including some members of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who warn unless the Iraqis suddenly do more, the plan could just make things worse.
The notion that we are going to distribute small numbers of light infantrymen into neighborhoods, winning over the goodwill of the population, is delusional. What we really risk is the loss of substantial American life with that particular tactic.
But the Pentagon argues the additional U.S. forces will use completely different tactics to prop up the Iraqi troops and ensure they hold Baghdad neighborhoods after they are cleared.
I think it can work. I really think that if we undertake this with the level of forces that we're proposing, this is a feasible undertaking. I really think that we've talked ourselves into believing that this problem is insoluble.
In the short term, the Pentagon says it can provide the reinforcements without putting too much more strain on the U.S. military. But if the need for additional troops extends past August, which it may likely, then Pentagon sources say that the Army is going to have to look at eliminating the policy of limiting Guard and Reserve deployments to Iraq to just 24 months and start sending back some of those Guard members and reservists who have already served 2 years in the war zone. Lou?
Jamie, the same question, which you in part have answered in your report that I asked Suzanne Malveaux. Where do the Chiefs of Staff, the Joint Chairman, stand on this proposal by the president?
Well, as near as I can tell from the private conversations I've had, they've signed off on the plan. They're willing to give it a shot, but this was not their idea and not their preferred option. But they're willing to sort of support it on the idea that the increase of troops is not just for the sake of increasing troops for some political reason, but that it's tied to a real strategy on the ground. And they've tried very hard to come up with that strategy to really change the dynamic. The big question is, will it work? And frankly, a lot of people are pretty pessimistic, but they're willing to give it a shot.
Thank you very much, Jamie McIntyre from the Pentagon. Insurgents in Iraq have killed 3 more of our troops. 2 were killed in Al-Anbar province west of Baghdad. Another was killed north of the Iraqi capital city. 13 of our troops have been killed so far this month in Iraq. 3,018 of our troops killed since the beginning of the war. 22,834 of our troops wounded. 10,191 of them so seriously they could not return to duty within 3 days. Congressional Democrats say public concern over the rising number of American deaths in Iraq has given them a mandate to resist the president's proposals tonight. Democratic leaders in the Senate and the House are planning votes on the president's proposals. But Republican leaders say the American public wants and expects victory in Iraq. Dana Bash reports from Capitol Hill. Dana?
Well, the president has been meeting with lawmakers from both parties all week. It was just today, however, that he called the bipartisan congressional leadership down to the White House to brief them on his Iraq plan. Democrats emerged from the White House complaining about the fact that they were not consulted ahead of time, as they said they were promised. Harry Reid, even the Senate Majority Leader, even said that the president was practicing his speech just before they got there. But they also made clear, standing right on the president's driveway, that his plan to send more troops into Iraq is the wrong one.
The members of Congress, Democrats for certain, questioned in some detail what the additional troops would do. And again, speaking for me, I am at a loss as to what's going to happen with these additional troops.
Now, Democrats are now united on their opposition to the president's plan to increase troop levels in Iraq, but not on what to do about it. They're struggling behind the scenes on whether or not they should try to block funding for those additional troops, whether they should support a resolution reauthorizing the war, so to speak. But what they do agree on now is that they're going to have test votes in the House and the Senate, put the president's resolution on the floor of both bodies, and essentially gauge the support for the president's plan that way. What they need in order to show that what they say is true, that there isn't a lot of support in Congress and among the American people for his plan, they're going to need Republicans to defect, Lou. The leadership today said that they do support the president, but we do have new signs of Republican defections. For example, Senator Sam Brownback, a presidential hopeful, just a short while ago issued a statement saying that he opposes the president's plan to send more troops. In addition, we had on the Senate floor a formal statement of opposition from Senator Norm Coleman of Minnesota. So those are two interesting signs of how much the politics have changed here on Capitol Hill, how much more the president is isolated when it comes to his war policy. Lou?
Dana, thank you. Dana Bash from Capitol Hill. Many lawmakers now doubt that Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki has the political will to launch a military offensive against radical Islamist terrorists. Al-Maliki today warned those terrorists that they must lay down their arms or face an all-out assault. But al-Maliki has failed to support previous U.S. efforts to confront radical Islamists in Iraq, particularly the Shia. Ryan Chilka reports from Baghdad. Ryan, does anyone believe there that Prime Minister al-Maliki will actually crack down on the Shia radical Islamist terrorists?
I think you've hit the nail on the head. There is a lot of trust that the Prime Minister, who is a Shiite, is ready to go after the Sunni Arab insurgents. There is not as much trust that the Prime Minister is ready to go after the Shiite insurgents, or the Shiite militias as they're called here. This Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, has been in power since the spring of 2006, and he has yet to go after those Shiite militias yet. In fact, as you pointed out, back in October, he actually pulled U.S. troops back from an area of the city called Sadr City, where the largest Shiite militia operates. It's called the Mehdi Army. Politically, keep in mind, this is very precarious, going after the Shiite militias for this prime minister. His government is actually still allied at this point with the leader of that largest Shiite militia, the Mehdi Army. So he would have to change the composition of his government if he really wants to do that. Now, the Bush administration maintains that they have a pledge from the Iraqi Prime Minister that he is willing to go after the Shiite militias, but publicly he has not said that he is ready to go after the Mehdi Army. Lou?
The army, which is led, of course, by Muqtada al-Sadr, who is also the sponsor and upon whom al-Maliki can base his good fortune, if you can call it that, to be the prime minister. There has been no indication whatsoever that he would back off from al-Sadr or that he would go after his militia. How quickly could that operation be put into effect to disarm the militia in Sadr City?
Well, it would take a lot of planning and a lot of troops, and I think that Sadr City would not be the first place that the U.S. troops and the Iraqi troops would go. You know, they have this Baghdad security plan, which calls for them to go into all of the neighborhoods in the Iraqi capital and disarm everyone, including the Mehdi army. But I would think that the Iraqi commanders that I've been talking to, they suggest that that wouldn't be the first place they'd want to go. They want to amass the troops, the Iraqi troops. They need to bring 3 more brigades of Iraqi troops in, and they'd probably like to see some more of those U.S. troops on hand before they go after the Mehdi army, because they're going to need a lot of troops to do it. It's probably going to be a very big fight.
A very big fight. Is it one that the Iraqis have the stomach for?
It is a question of whether the Iraqi government has the stomach for it. I think a lot of the Iraqi people have the stomach for it. I think that the Iraqi army has the stomach for it. I was just talking to the deputy chief of staff of the Iraqi army. He thinks that if they go in there with the U.S. troops, that the Mehdi army will run. Obviously, there are a lot of people that don't think that, but it is possible that we could see this, but even before we see a crackdown, we're going to have to see some steps by the Iraqi government that suggest that this is even something that they're ready to do. For example, there are 6 members of the government right now from Sadr's bloc who leads the Mehdi army. You would think that the Iraqi government would want to get rid of those ministers before they go after the Mehdi army. Lou?
Okay, Ryan Chilcote from Baghdad. Thank you. Still ahead here tonight, a last-minute effort to prevent 2 former U.S. Border Patrol agents from going to prison in a case that has sparked national outrage. We'll have that report and a legal victory for local law enforcement agencies trying to tackle our illegal immigration crisis, one that the federal government refuses to do. We'll have that story and some of the country's most dangerous enemies joining forces to challenge U.S. interests around the world, and particularly in this hemisphere. We'll have that special report and a great deal more still ahead. Stay with us.
It all began with a big dream in a small town. Sam Walton's dream.
Treat the customers like they're your family.
You treat customers with respect.
Go above and beyond. A smile and a hello doesn't cost anything.
It's been said that when Walmart comes to town, it's like getting a nice pay raise.
Because our low prices save the average working family $2,300 a year.
Which buys a lot of things and a whole bunch of freedom. But Sam Walton's vision and our commitment today is much bigger than that. Last year alone, Walmart created thousands of new American jobs, many in areas where they're needed most. And every associate can qualify for health insurance for less than $1 a day.
Well, one thing that Sam believed in was that you should give back to the communities.
And this year, once again, neighborhood Walmart stores will be one of the largest corporate contributors to local charities in America.
Savings to customers.
Commitment to the community.
Opportunities for associates. Those are the values that guide us.
Sam's dream. Your neighborhood Walmart.
Tonight, CNN brings you President Bush's address on Iran. With reporters live from the heart of the story in Baghdad and Washington. Find out what the plan really means for U.S. troops. Special coverage starts in the Situation Room. CNN Tonight, 7 Eastern. Tomorrow, Soledad O'Brien reveals the papers of MLK, the King Papers. Tomorrow, American Morning, 6 Eastern.
The 47th Annual Portland Boat Show is proud to partner with Keep Hope Afloat, a PFD charitable foundation. The foundation is asking you to donate your old substandard life jackets. If the jacket can be recertified, it goes to the statewide loaner program, and 5,000 children 12 and under will be fitted with a free new Mustang survival jacket as part of the Life Jacket for Junior program provided by the Oregon State Marine Board, only at the Portland Boat Show.
Broadband is a necessity in our business. Conferences, sales meetings, video conferencing. That's the great thing about Comcast Workplace. It's just as fast when we have 100 or 150 people that all have their laptops as it is when we just have 3 or 4. I think it's 5 times faster than DSL. With Comcast, the cost savings are significant. The reliability is just awesome. For us to be competitive, everything we provide for our customers has to be top-notch. People expect speed, and that's the standard that we have to deliver.
Senators McCain, Obama, and more after the president's Iraq speech. Larry King tonight.
New developments tonight in a case we've been reporting on extensively on this broadcast. 2 former U.S. Border Patrol agents were convicted of shooting and wounding a Mexican drug smuggler who was given immunity by the U.S. Justice Department to testify against the 2 agents. Some members of Congress are working to keep those agents out of jail, and for once, the Bush administration appears to be near cooperation. Casey Wyan reports.
Texas Congressman Ted Poe led a group of lawmakers demanding the Justice Department not oppose a request that former Border Patrol agents Jose Compean and Ignacio Ramos remain out of prison, while their convictions for shooting an illegal alien Mexican drug smuggler are appealed. As we've reported, Ramos and Compean received 11 and 12-year sentences, while the Bush administration gave the wounded, allegedly unarmed drug smuggler immunity from prosecution.
Our federal government had the choice to make of being on the side of a drug dealer who was bringing in $1 million worth of drugs, or the side of two border agents that apparently were just enforcing the rule of law.
Among issues expected to be raised during the agent's appeal, the grant of immunity and other benefits given to Oscar Aldrete Davila, who was caught again smuggling an even bigger load of dope into the United States, and allegations of jury misconduct. Texas federal judge Kathleen Cardone is expected to rule later this week on the agent's request to remain free until the appeal is heard.
It would be a grave miscarriage of justice if they were to be sent to prison for simply doing their job. Out of concern for their safety, they should not go to prison and should remain free on bond pending their appeal.
They're scheduled to surrender next Wednesday.
In this case, we will have two of our best Border Patrol agents put in confinement with the very people that they brought to justice. That's like sending our soldiers or our Marines who have been prosecuted into a confinement with Al-Qaeda.
Lou Dobbs tonight has learned the Justice Department will not oppose the bail request. Still, lawmakers are outraged President Bush refuses to intervene.
I am very, very disappointed in the indifference by this White House as it relates to these two men and their families.
Under their current bail agreement, Ramos and Compean are not allowed to appear together. Compean spoke for both.
Speaking for my fellow agents continuing to hold the line, I want to thank you, the American people, for all of your support.
More than 220,000 Americans have signed petitions demanding the former agents be pardoned. Supporters say they believe that public pressure may be instrumental in keeping the agents out of prison, at least for now. Lou.
Casey, thank you very much. Casey Wyan. A criminal illegal alien who fled to Mexico after the murder of a sheriff's deputy nearly 5 years ago is back again in this country tonight. The suspect, Armando Garcia, was finally turned over by Mexican authorities after fighting extradition for nearly a year. The government of Mexico initially refused to hand Garcia over because he could face the death penalty for his actions. As part of the extradition agreement with the Los Angeles County District Attorney, agreeing not to seek the death penalty instead of life without parole. Garcia is accused of murdering 33-year-old Los Angeles County Deputy David March following a routine traffic stop in 2002. As we have reported here, this case is a shocking example of how criminal illegal aliens are easily escaping justice by running back to Mexico. In the past year, more than 50 criminal illegal aliens were extradited from Mexico. Half of them were wanted here for murder. Local police forced to deal with criminal illegal aliens were handed a victory by a federal court. The court dismissed a lawsuit aimed at preventing local police from arresting illegal aliens. The court did not rule on the principal issues of the case, but did rule that the parties bringing the lawsuit had no legal standing whatsoever to do so. Bill Tucker reports.
At the heart of the dispute is should immigration fugitives be allowed a free pass from arrest by state and local police. Currently, there are 113,000 such fugitives listed in the National Crime and Information Center database, according to law enforcement sources. These are illegal aliens who were arrested, had a hearing before an immigration court judge, ordered deported, and who then fled in defiance of that order. The National Council of Veraza and other illegal alien advocates filed a complaint arguing that such arrests are unconstitutional and prohibited by Congress.
The statute, this National Criminal Information Center statute, does not authorize the federal government to put in civil or immigration records. It only authorizes them to put in criminal records, so that the federal government is exceeding their authority.
The case was dismissed by District Judge Leo Glasser, who found that the plaintiffs had no standing, meaning they could not show how they were harmed by the current practice. La Raza and its fellow plaintiffs argue that they're sincerely concerned that constitutional law is at risk. Advocates for immigration law enforcement see another motive.
Really, the objective there is to obstruct enforcement of the immigration law as much as possible because La Raza and the rest of the plaintiffs just don't like the idea that illegal aliens can't get and stay in the United States. I mean, it's as simple as that.
There is currently no prohibition by Congress on state and local authorities from enforcing immigration law. In fact, Congress has established a program to facilitate such cooperation and outlawed cities from declaring themselves exempt from immigration law, known as sanctuary policies. Officials at Immigration and Customs Enforcement declined comment on the ruling, citing the possibility of an appeal by the plaintiffs. Now, lawyers for the plaintiffs that we spoke to today say they have 60 days to make up their mind about any appeal. In lieu, they say they will weigh their decision carefully.
Weigh their decision carefully.
Yes.
And I wonder what the values are by which they will make that determination. The idea that the 1996 federal law prohibits states, any entity in this country, from being a sanctuary. The Justice Department is not enforcing that law either. And that is a question that Alberto Gonzalez should be answering to the American people right now.
And the critics will be quick to point out, Lou, they outlawed it, but they put no provisions for punitive sanctions into it. So it's basically a law that says you can't rob a bank, but go ahead because we can't put you in jail for it.
A remarkable country that we are building here, thanks to a group of, an ever-growing group of special interests who are making their will known well ahead of that of the American people. Bill Tucker, thank you. At least one victory. We'll take that every time.
Okay.
That brings us to our poll question tonight. Do you believe, as La Raza states, that the arrest of an illegal alien fugitive by state or local police is unconstitutional? Yes or no? Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. We'll have the results for you here later. Up next, one congressman's efforts to keep 2 U.S. Border Patrol agents from going to prison is having some success. I'll be talking with Congressman Dana Rohrabacher about his fight for their rights. And for the first time in 10 years, the House of Representatives has voted to boost the federal minimum wage. Now, Congress has 8 times previously raised its own while denying that to low-wage workers in this country. This measure, passed in the House's second day in session, will have that report. In Latin America, socialist leaders, leftists, form a dangerous alliance, and the United States isn't responding. Iran's president is, though. He's going to visit the hemisphere. Stay with us. We'll have that story, a great deal more, straight ahead.
Dreams are powerful. Just because we're retiring doesn't mean our dreams have to.
That's why Ameriprise Financial created the Dream Book. Before we talk about numbers, we want to know your dreams.
Call 1-800-509-4799 now
For your free Dream Book. Then let an Ameriprise Financial advisor work with you, one-to-one, face-to-face, to develop a financial plan to help get you there. Because the best book on retirement is the one you'll write.
This lush expanse of green does more than beautify our world. Trees help clean the air of carbon dioxide, a major greenhouse gas. As North America's largest recycler, last year alone, Waste Management recycled enough paper to save over 41 million trees. From everyday collection to environmental protection, think green. Think Waste Management.
The all-new BMW X5. With room for 7, we've expanded on a great idea.
Dish Network subscribers, stand up and object. Court TV has been dropped. Dish Network subscribers, don't stand for this injustice. Get Court TV by calling 1-800-710-1922.
Closed captioning hours provided by Of Glove. The Of Glove makes a great gift.
Removing dishes while cooking can be too hot to handle. Ouch! The new Of Glove. Now with non-slip silicone grips. Protects up to 540 degrees. The Of Glove.
For the first time in 10 years, the House of Representatives has voted to raise the pay of someone other than themselves. They voted to raise the federal minimum wage. As one congressman put it, the lowest paid Americans have been receiving a federal poverty wage, not a federal minimum wage. Lisa Sylvester reports.
The federal minimum wage has not been raised in 10 years. Take into account rising gas, housing, and food prices, and the effective minimum wage has not been this low since 1955. Eisenhower was in the White House, and Elvis was singing Heartbreak Hotel.
But these days, it's poor folks, poor working folks, who have the heartbreaks when the minimum wage is not even close to being a living wage.
The bill is passed.
By a vote of 315 to 116, largely along party lines, the House of Representatives approved a bill to raise the minimum wage from $5.15 an hour to $7.25 an hour, phased in over the next 2 years.
The lowest paid workers in America had been frozen out of the economy of this country. They have ended up every year, after going to work every day, every week, every month, they ended up poor.
The Senate will now take up similar legislation. Business groups are against raising the wages earned by those at the bottom of the economic scale, arguing it would be detrimental to small companies. The owner of 21 Wendy's franchises testified at a Senate hearing.
On January 1st, the minimum wage in the state of Ohio increased to $6.85. That may not sound like much, but the cost of 41 cents more an hour equates to $370,000 annually to my business.
While Democrats want a clean minimum wage bill, Republicans back attaching business tax breaks. Without them, they say workers will lose their jobs.
Some will have a mandated pay raise in America. Those will be the lucky ones. Many more will have their hours cut, Mr. Speaker. Many will have their benefits cut.
But critics say corporate America and business owners have had it good for the last decade, receiving numerous tax breaks while low-paid workers were ignored by Congress.
And as for this argument that small businesses are hurt by an increase in the minimum wage, a study by the Fiscal Policy Institute found states that raised its minimum wage above the federal level actually saw an increase in the number of small businesses, not a decrease. Lou?
And of course, that is a reality that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and other business lobby groups just simply want to ignore. But it is an awfully good sign that this Congress, in its second major piece of legislation, is choosing to ignore the absurd, moronic posturings of business lobbies, in my opinion.
We'll have to see now what the Senate does, Lou.
Yeah, well, they got a clean bill through the House, and if the Senate doesn't do as well, there will be some requirement to ask what has happened to the conscience of those lawmakers in the Senate. Thank you very much, Lisa Sylvester, reporting from Washington. Time now for some of your thoughts. Thomas in California, this forthcoming Social Security totalization agreement between the United States and Mexico stopped me right in my tracks. This agreement is completely egregious toward legal United States citizens. Only big business and the illegal aliens from Mexico benefit, while the hardworking middle class legal citizens of the United States once again get slapped in the face. Thomas in Florida, should our National Guard personnel run when confronted by armed Mexicans? Hell yes. Look what happened to the 2 Border Patrol agents that are now wards of the state for doing their jobs. Are we screwed up or what? And Larry in South Carolina, Lou, the National Guard troops must retreat. Otherwise, they will wind up in jail with the 2 Border Patrol agents. Send us your thoughts to LouDobbs.com. More of your thoughts coming up here later. And each of you whose email is read here receives a copy of my book, The War on the Middle Class. Up next, in just 1 week, Agents Campion and Ramos expected to report to authorities. Will they go to prison? One of the congressmen fighting for their freedom will be here to discuss the chances of correcting what is being called an outrageous miscarriage of justice and a dangerous alliance between left-wing leaders in Latin America and the president of Iran. We'll have a special report on the threat this alliance may pose to U.S. interests, especially in our hemisphere. And New Jersey's Governor Corzine is considering plans to sell off the taxpayer-owned New Jersey Turnpike, perhaps the Garden State Parkway. You've got it, to private, possibly foreign interest. You gotta love America. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Head on. Apply direct.
Head on. Apply directly to your forehead. Head on. Apply. Head on. I can't stand your commercial, but your product is amazing.
Head on is available without a prescription.
New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Joint and muscle pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Joint and Muscle. In stores now. New from the makers of Head On. Introducing Activon. Arthritis pain? Activon. Apply directly where it hurts. Activon Arthritis. In stores now.
Challenge doesn't build character. It reveals it. Through the market's ups and downs, Oppenheimer Funds has proven we have what it takes to keep moving forward. Just one reason why Barron's has recognized Oppenheimer Funds for having some of the top portfolio managers in the business. Oppenheimer Funds, the right way to invest.
Carefully consider fund investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Call your advisor for a prospectus with this and other fund information. Read it carefully before investing.
Tonight on 360, is the last best chance for victory in Iraq or a waste of American dollars and lives? All the angles on President Bush's new war plan. Iraq, exit strategy, or no way out? A 360 special from Washington tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern.
I'm 77 years old, and I work as a waitress.
Osteo Biflex, the #1 doctor-recommended joint care brand.
I work 10, 12, 14 hours a day. I exercise. I walk 3 miles in the morning.
The glucosamine and chondroitin, as found in Osteo Biflex, actually lubricates and cushions your joints.
I just couldn't do it without Osteo Biflex.
For a $3 off coupon and more information on Osteo Biflex, go to osteobiflex.com right now.
You don't have to die from cancer. There are things you can do to save your life.
Saving Your Life, a Dr. Sanjay Gupta special. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern. Sponsored by the Commit Lozenge. Real help, real hope.
As we reported early in this broadcast, congressional efforts today to help convicted Border Patrol agents Jose Campion and Ignacio Ramos clear their names and keep from going to prison. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher among the leaders of the effort to keep these men free. He has been at the forefront of the movement and joins us tonight. Good to have you with us, Congressman.
Well, thank you for bringing this to the attention of the American people.
Congressman, you presented, along with other members of Congress, a letter to Alberto Gonzales, the U.S. Attorney General. Any hope, realistic hope, that he is going to respond in any positive way?
Well, a week from today, if he does not, and this administration does not act, we will have two heroic individuals who for 5 and 10 years have put their lives on the line for us, willing to take a bullet to protect our families and our communities. They're going to send them off to prison for what they did trying to stop a drug dealer from coming in from Mexico. And I will tell you, we have sent letters to Gonzales, to the Attorney General. He doesn't even give us the courtesy as elected officials of returning our phone calls directly, as some underlings do it.
The idea that Republicans, both in the administration and the Congress, and you, nearly every one of the congressmen I'm familiar with who is Republican, in that letter to the president, not getting a response at all. The arrogance of that is breathtaking to me. How do you respond to it?
Well, listen, I've supported the president in Iraq, for example, and have been very vocal in trying to make this a successful administration. I am, after all, a Republican. But first and foremost, I'm an American, and we expected that the president was going to be on the side of the good guys, the Americans. And here he is, bringing down two men who are our greatest defenders after he's willing to send people clear across the world to defend us against our enemies. But he's leaving the southern border open, and he's undermining the morale of our defenders.
How can Alberto Gonzales, the U.S. Attorney General, how can this president, this administration, possibly refuse to enforce that border. We're in a time of a war on radical Islamist terror, at a time when it's the principal source of methamphetamines, marijuana, cocaine, and heroin into this country. Is this not the most cynical position that any administration could possibly take?
Well, it is bizarre. There's a bizarre policy in place here. The president has not wanted to admit to us, like in the totalization agreement, where they've included illegal immigrants to get Social Security benefits. He hasn't wanted to admit to us exactly what his policy is towards Mexico. And who has to pay for it? Who ends up getting hurt? Our Border Patrol agents, the guys who are trying to protect us. Of course, the other people getting hurt are the people who are being raped and murdered by illegal immigrants who come into our society, the criminals who now know the southern border is open.
Well, not only open, that when confronted by the Border Patrol or our National Guard will actually retreat in the face of armed illegal aliens crossing into this country.
Absolutely, Lou, but the people, the only way this is going to be solved, we can't just rely on the president. He's obviously a hard-headed man.
No, we can't rely on the president at all.
But we have to rely on each other. And Americans have to step forward. It's only the outrage, the righteous outrage of the American people. They need to call the White House. They need to say that if Ramos and Campion are not given a pardon, if they go to jail, the president has declared himself on the side of the enemy.
I think that's where we're going to have to leave it, Congressman. We thank you. We thank you for everything you're trying to do to introduce justice to the Justice Department and to this administration. We thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Congressman Dan Rohrabacher. Up next, more leftist leaders taking power in Latin America. They're forming an alliance against U.S. interests in this hemisphere as well with the president of Iran. We'll have that special report. And New Jersey's governor, John Corzine, considering plans to sell off the taxpayer-owned New Jersey Turnpike and possibly the Jersey Parkway, the Garden State Parkway, to private foreign interests. Novel idea, and unfortunately it's one that's catching hold across the country. We'll have the details on this outrageous new approach to fiscal management. Also tonight, our political panel joins us with their calculations on the president's proposed troop surge. Stay with us.
Are there places in your home where you wish you had a light, but you don't?
Hi, Anthony Sullivan here for the wireless stick-up light bulb. A battery-operated light bulb that you can install without an electrician. Just stick up the base, slide in the bulb, and you've got light. It's that easy. There's no wires and no complicated installation. Now you can have light anytime, any place, anywhere. Just stick it up, pull the cord, and you've got light. The stick-up bulb is safe for kids, and it easily puts light within their reach. Unlike glass bulbs that break, the stick-up bulb is shatterproof if you drop it. There's no dangerous wires to mess with either. The stick-up bulb installs instantly, stays cool to the touch, and has a 10-year guarantee. Around the house or on the car, don't use hot clip-on lights when you can use the stick-up bulb. The stick-up bulb is perfect for attics and basements. Have a closet that needs illumination? Use the stick-up bulb. Just stick it up, and you've got light. Use one anywhere you need extra light. Nothing's easier to fit underneath the kitchen counter, and they're perfect inside for a tool shed if you don't have power. Use them outside as a wireless light for decks or patios, and they're great for camping and RVs. If the power goes out, you can depend on the power of the stick-up bulb. And each one slides out to become a handy lantern. This electrician charged $180 to install one light bulb. Call now and you'll get the wireless stick-up bulb for just $10. But call right now and we'll throw in a second stick-up bulb free. Just pay separate shipping and handling. That's 2 wireless stick-up bulbs, all for just $10. Here's how to order.
Call 1-800-459-1274 and order stick-up bulb for a new and special low price of only $10, and you'll get a second stick-up bulb for free. That's 1-800-459-1274. This offer is not available in any retail store, so use your credit card and call 1-800-459-1274. 1-800-459-1274. Call now.
A socialist trend is growing across much of Latin America. Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez, who calls President Bush the devil, sworn in for a third time. Across the regions, governments turning to the left. Kitty Pilgrim reports.
In Latin America, election victories sweeping 3 hardline socialists into office, all deep foes of the United States. Today, taking the oath of office, Venezuela's Hugo Chavez. Chavez then traveling to Nicaragua, President Daniel Ortega swearing in Nicaragua. And Monday, Ecuador's new socialist president, Rafael Correa, takes office. They are already reaching out to Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. Last year, Venezuela's Chavez defended Iran's right to nuclear ambitions.
Chavez has been at the forefront of such overtures and, to try to develop greater economic ties. And so I think this is a visit to strengthen those type of relationships.
Today, during his swearing in, Venezuela's Chavez was not shy about calling on other icons, both political and religious, to his socialist cause, no matter how preposterous the connection. With his hand raised, he paraphrased communist Fidel Castro's slogan, "Homeland Socialism or Death," adding, "I swear by Christ, the greatest socialist in history." In 2006, 9 Latin American countries had a change of government. In 7, left-leaning candidates were elected. But President Ahmadinejad of Iran is visiting the most virulent socialist leaders in 4 countries: Venezuela, Nicaragua, Ecuador, and Bolivia.
Many people may be entranced by populist claims and populist movements right now, but in the coming years we're going to see a divergence of economic performance between those countries that are opening up and maintaining democracy and those that are going in the other direction.
Now, the White House commented on the socialist trend, saying these types of actions do not produce economic benefits, but then added, if U.S. companies are affected, we expect them to be fairly and promptly compensated. Lou?
So they're looking at the entire issue in terms of commerce rather than geopolitically.
It seems like that is.
And this is what they call a foreign policy. Katie Pilgrim, thank you very much. A reminder to vote in our poll tonight. Do you believe, as La Raza has stated, that the arrest of an illegal alien fugitive by state or local police is unconstitutional? Yes or no? Cast your vote at LouDobbs.com. Results coming up in a few minutes. New Jersey's Governor John Corzine tonight skirting the issue of whether he would sell the New Jersey Turnpike to private, possibly foreign interests. Last night on this program, we reported on federal encouragement of states to sell off taxpayer-funded state roads to raise money. Corzine, in his annual message, didn't mention the turnpike specifically, but instead talked of selling some taxpayer-owned assets. New Jersey could earn some $20 billion, it is estimated by some, from the sale of the 148-mile-long toll road. Still ahead, our political roundtable will be here. We'll be talking about John Corzine and other people with big ideas for things owned not by them. Stay with us.
Next, CNN brings you President Bush's address on Iran with reporters live from Baghdad and Washington. Find out what the plan really means for U.S. troops. CNN next.
You can donate a car, you can donate a bike, you can donate an ottoman if you really like. You can donate a picture, you can donate a chair, you can donate the clothes that you hardly ever wear. Salvation Army. You can buy the brand names that you really do like. Buy a car, buy an ottoman, you can buy a bike, you can buy a pretty picture, you can hang it on the wall. Buy stuff that you never would find at the malls. Salvation Army. And the money from the sales of the stuff that you buy could help somebody get a whole new life. Salvation Army will do what's best. You donate, we'll do the rest. Salvation Army.
Call 1-800-SA-TRUCK.
Don't miss all the sports action on Comcast on Sunday, February 18th at 8 p.m. Live from Las Vegas. Watch the 2007 NBA All-Star Game only on TNT, Comcast Channel 54. What gets NFL fans fired up? Live primetime games, Thursday and Friday night. All fans welcome to the NFL Network on Comcast Channel 417. Get more of the sports you want with Comcast.
Cold sores are gonna clear up. Put on a happy face.
Want them gone fast? Get Herpecin L. Unlike other treatments, it helps heal lips fast, soothes skin, and protects lips. Herpecin L.
Just put on a happy face.
America's changing shape with Dexatrim Max 2.0. Now in 2 delicious new flavors.
Gives me and my water a boost.
Size 8, here I come. Helps curb cravings. A healthy way to max out your weight loss. Dexatrim Max 2.0. Max out your water.
Whoever came up with the phrase want versus need? Okay, we don't need jewelry, but we want it. Now, to want and to need is to have. Jewelry Television opens the once closed world of beautiful jewelry to everyone. That's because Jewelry Television sells the same gold, platinum, and gemstone jewelry that your local jeweler sells, but at prices the local stores can't even buy for wholesale. Jewelry Television.
In Your Life, a Dr. Sanjay Gupta special. CNN Saturday and Sunday night, 8 Eastern.
The revolving door in Washington just keeps on spinning. Former Montana Senator Conrad Burns, who had ties to convicted lobbyist Jack Abramoff, lost his old job as senator, has a new one. Burns becomes, what else? A lobbyist. He'll be working for his former chief of staff. Yes, he is a lobbyist as well. Burns won't be able to begin work, however, just yet. Senate rules prohibit former members from lobbying their former colleagues for a whole year. But I'm sure they'll find something for him to do in the interim. Meanwhile, there is more fallout tonight from the Abramoff scandal. The Washington Post is reporting the Interior Department's former number 2 official, Stephen Griles, is now a target of a government corruption probe. Abramoff is serving 6 years in prison. He is awaiting sentencing on charges that include tax evasion and conspiracy to bribe public officials. And now we turn to politics, and for that we turn to Ed Rollins, former Reagan White House political director, Republican strategist, Hank Sheinkopf, Democratic strategist, Mark Halpern, political director, ABC News, also the author of the book that has America trembling with fear, The Way to Win, taking the White House in 2008. Good to have you all with us.
Thank you to be here.
Let's start with the president's speech tonight. Ed, what's he going to say?
Well, I think everything he's going to say has already been said in the newspapers the last 3 or 4 days. He's going to put 20 to 25,000 more troops there. What's still not clear is what is the strategy and what is the long-term commitment. And this isn't going to convince anybody of anything. I think it's just a perfunctory process. But I think the counter to it is the Democrats are throwing their bipartisanship aside, and they're going to basically right off the bat vote some sort of an idiotic resolution that's going to say that they're not supportive of anything he does.
That resolution, would it be idiotic?
I think the larger resolution was enacted by the people of this country a little bit more than 2 months ago, where they said this has got to stop. And that was the resolution that matters. There's nothing idiotic about enacting the people's will, or at least telling the president, by the way, do what the people want.
I don't think the speech, as Ed suggests, is going to matter that much. We know what he's going to say. It doesn't have public support. It doesn't have congressional support, even amongst Republicans. We know what the Democrat reaction is. I think the action now is the president's response to the Democratic response. Does he ignore them? Does he precipitate a constitutional crisis? I think that's what we're going to have to see in the next 2 or 3 days.
Harry Reid, the majority leader, Speaker Pelosi, both are sending very strong signals to this White House. Will that be, is there any chance in the world that President Bush will pay attention to?
No, he's not paying attention, and it's obvious. I mean, the critical thing here is, are the Democrats going to do something to jeopardize our troops? And I think a resolution means nothing, but if they basically start playing with the funding or start playing with the numbers of troops that can go there, that's a pretty courageous step, and I don't think they have the guts to do that, and at least I hope not.
Ed Rollins is challenging Pelosi and Reid.
I just think it's not a good thing to our troops that are there, basically still trying to carry out, and the American public didn't vote totally on this. They want to change, but they weren't they weren't saying pull our troops out today.
What was the issue of the moment? The issue of the moment was war.
There are a number of issues, and I think the critical thing here is we have troops there, and we have to make sure that our troops are being protected.
Well, it is, to me, unfortunate that at this particular point, we still do not have a debate in this Congress or with this president, a national dialogue about, with any certainty, and certainty is too strong a word, but with the clear light toward what the results would be of the policy choices before us.
Well, I think we're going to have it. I think there's hearings that are starting tomorrow with leading Bush administration officials, with leading senators on the committees, the Armed Services Committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee. I think these are going to be serious hearings with serious debate. I think the country is going to get a chance to decide with public opinion polls, with letters, what they want to do. And again, I think the president is going to have to decide if he wants to simply enact his policy in counteraction to the midterm results and counteraction to public opinion.
Are the Democrats, as some suggest here, are they caught, in your opinion, Hank, between now and 2008 and have to do something that will stand up for whomever their candidate is come that very important year?
They're not just standing up for whoever the candidate may be. They're standing up for their own majorities in both chambers, slim in the Senate, larger in the House. They've got to go back to being Democrats. The people say, we don't like the war. the people have real economic concerns underneath it. That's part of what the change that Ed was talking about they wanted. They've got to be more populist in their economic positioning, and they've got to be out of Iraq in their foreign policy positioning. And they've got to have some rationality brought to this government action.
Do you agree?
Well, I agree. That's what they're going to try and do. I think at the end of the day, I'm not opposed to them having the hearings, and I'm not opposed to the president and this new leadership in DOD laying out what it is that they're going to do. I think the president's going to stay there for the next 2 years. I think he's going to keep troops there for the next 2 years, no matter what the Congress does, no matter what public opinion does. And I think it's very, very important to those that are there that there is a clear-cut strategy with some possibility of a win, which I don't see at this point in time any possibility of.
What are the principal risk in your judgment, Mark, and I'm talking about the political risk, to this president simply ignoring the expression by the House of Representatives, which is the people's house, and the House of Lords, the Senate, to a lesser degree, and the Democratic risk, their principal risk here?
Well, I think the risk for the president is that he'll get nothing done for the last 2 years. He's fighting a war that most people think he can't win, which he's determined to win. Mm-hmm. And he has no bipartisan relationship. It's worse today than it was after the midterm elections. Today, he got slapped in the face by Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid after they came out of the White House. I think he may have no more accomplishments as president if he doesn't somehow find a way to handle this. I think the risk for the Democrats is that they are being too timid. I think they are scared by the past recent history in which national security has bit them, where George Bush and Karl Rove have been able to attack them. I think they're being more timid than they could be given public opinion.
The Democrats, the House today, passed the minimum wage. Hallelujah. Now they have to move it before the Senate. Do you think they will succeed there? And if so, do you think this president will sign the legislation?
The best thing that could happen to the Democrats with respect to 2008, and the cynical move would be to hope that the president does not sign it. They'll get it through the Senate because no one wants to face re-election of an electorate by saying they did not want to give those who needed an increase in wages the opportunity to have sign it.
He'll sign it. It'd be foolish for him not to sign it at this point in time, and I think he's given every indication that he would sign it. So,
even if it doesn't get business tax breaks on there, he'll sign it.
All right, gentlemen. We thank you very much, Warren. Ed, Hank, thank you very much. Up at the top of the hour, the Situation Room. Wolf Blitzer and Paula Zahn joining up tonight to cover this president's speech. Wolf, Paula.
Thanks very much, Lou. Coming up, special coverage of the president's announcement of a troop increase for Iraq. We're live at the White House, and we're live with U.S. forces in Iraq.
So the question tonight is, can the president convince a Congress and American public increasingly opposed to this war that this is the answer and that it is his last chance to turn things around? We're going to talk about that with his former Chief of Staff, Andy Card, as well as House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer.
And the debate, Paula, over more troops, very, very personal for families who've lost loved ones in Iraq. We're going to show you one family's struggle. All that, Lou, coming up right here in the Situation Room.
Thank you both. Looking forward to it. Still ahead here, the results of our poll. More of your thoughts. Stay with us.
This is the AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan card. You know what's great about this card? Wherever you go, nationwide, your coverage travels with you. And that's just one of the many reasons you need the card you can trust. Because with AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance, you get things like a full range of plans, the ability to apply year-round, personal health insurance advisors to help you make the best decision, and so much more. If you're turning 65 or older, or you've already enrolled in a Medicare supplement plan, call now for this free information kit and Medicare guide to help you navigate today's complex health care environment. Learn why these Medicare supplement insurance plans are the choice of millions of Americans and are exclusively endorsed by AARP, an organization that's all about life after 50. AARP Medicare supplement plans, insured by United Healthcare Insurance Company, help cover some of your medical expenses not covered by Medicare alone. This could save you thousands of dollars out of your own pocket. Plus, you can choose any doctor or hospital in the U.S. and apply anytime year-round. So call now. Here's what your friends and neighbors are saying about us. What a wonderful service this has been. Thank you for the excellent service provided. I love AARP healthcare options. Look, you want to do away with almost all claim forms? Like the sound of no referrals needed to see a specialist? With this card, you get all that too. Finding the right coverage can be really challenging. especially since Medicare supplement insurance is now more important than ever. That's why the legwork's been done for you. So feel great about making a smart, informed decision. And call to get your free information kit and Medicare guide. Then you'll find out more about a full range of plans, personal health insurance advisors, and coverage that travels nationwide. Yep, this is one great card.
Larry King tomorrow, an emotional primetime exclusive. Crocodile hunter Steve Irwin's widow Terry and 8-year-old daughter Bindi on coping with the shocking death of the husband and father they loved. Larry King Live, tomorrow 9 Eastern, only on CNN.
Special Investigations Unit. The whole story revealed. No compromise. No limits. Get ready. CNN Special Investigations Unit. Series premiere. Saturday, January 20th, only on CNN.
Closed captioning hours provided by Gold Bond First Aid, the quick fix for every itch.
Winter skin itch. Get Gold Bond Anti-Itch Cream. It helps stop itches fast with 2 strong medicines. Got an itch? Gold Bond Cream, the quick fix for almost every itch.
The results of our poll tonight, overwhelming. 98% of you say you don't believe the arrest of an illegal alien fugitive by state or local police is constitutional. We'll send that along to the High Court. Time now for more of your thoughts. Marty in Florida, let me get this straight. Border Patrol agents who do their job get sent to prison, and the military must turn and run away if confronted by armed illegal aliens. Lou, I feel safer already. Don't you? I think I feel about as safe as you do. Kathleen in Maine, don't be surprised if you wake up some morning and find you are no longer a U.S. citizen because the United States was sold as you slept. Roads today, the country tomorrow. Robert in Texas, Lou, isn't it a good thing that foreigners might buy our highways? After all, they own our White House and Congress. And Bill in Ohio, please remind your audience to get their taxes in early this year. There are anywhere from 11 to 20 million illegal aliens depending on them. We wouldn't want to let them down. And Kent in Virginia, and we're to believe George Bush suddenly knows what he's talking about because our coverage of the president's speech begins right after this broadcast. We love hearing from you. Send us your thoughts at LouDobbs.com. And finally, tonight, we want to extend our warmest congratulations to our colleague and producer, Adrienne Klein-Ratto, and her husband, Alessandro, for the birth of their brand new baby girl, Julia Grace Ratto, born on Sunday morning right here in New York City, weighing in at a healthy 6 pounds, 14 ounces. Julia, Adrienne, Alessandro, all doing great. We couldn't be happier for all of you. Congratulations. Thanks for being with us tonight. For all of us, thanks for watching. Good night from New York. The Situation Room begins now with Wolf Blitzer and Paula Zahn. Wolf, Paula?
Thanks very much, Lou. And to our viewers, you're in the Situation Room where new pictures and information are arriving all the time.
Standing by, CNN reporters